And it got to the point where, like, we actually talked about it, like, it's a numbers game. Like, eventually, like, something's going to happen at some point. You know what I mean? Just got to be ready. Law enforcement looked pretty good. I think really pushed me over the edge. Like, yeah, I want to do this was 9/11. Got my dog a couple weeks later, and they called me back, and they're like, we're sorry you didn't make it. The marshals swear you in. They'll deputize you. You know, you get to play actor, man. It was cool. So my first round goes into the door, stops in the door frame. He comes out on 2 feet. He's still firing. I get 2 more rounds off, strike him center mass. I didn't even know I hit him at the time because he just kept pumping rounds at me. I had one go through my left hand, one ricochet off my plate carrier, a third shattered my femur, just split it right in half, and it dropped me.
Being in the hospital for a significant period of time and spending a lot of that time watching the show, and to me, to hear something like that and see something like that, I mean, that's the whole reason the show exists, and it's a super humbling thing to see. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. He's a former law enforcement officer with nearly 20 years of service. He started his career in the patrol division and worked on a number of special units, including SWAT, K-9 Narcotics, and was a member of the U.S. Marshals Violent Fugitive Task Force. He was shot 6 times in the line of duty, sustaining life-threatening injuries. He shattered his femur, but amazingly enough, he still doesn't skip leg day. He's the founder of the Fit for Duty Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to promoting physical fitness and mental well-being among first responders. And he's the author of Just One More, which I promise is not a bukkake play on words. You guys know what that is? You guys don't know what that is, do you?
I don't know that one.
All right, well, that's probably good that you don't. And maybe it's alarming that I do. But it's a book detailing his recovery and personal transformation. And he's also a recipient of the American Police Hall of Fame Purple Heart, Fraternal Order of the Police Medal of Valor, the United States Marshals Service Purple Heart, and the NAPO, National Association of Police Organizations TopCop Award. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, the Delaware stripper cop, T.J. Webb.
Great to be here, man. It's an honor, for real.
Well, I tell you, it's an honor to have you. I saw, that you shared, being in the hospital for a significant period of time and spending a lot of that time watching the show. And to me, like, it's really the other way around. I mean, it's an absolute honor having you here I
appreciate it.
To hear something like that and see something like that. That's the whole reason the show exists, and it's a super humbling thing to see. So I appreciate you and everything that you've done and gone through. So what's the last full book that you read?
Man, the last full book I read was actually probably mine.
Oh, no shit. The editing process?
Yeah, and I'm not a big reader, unfortunately. I'm trying to get better at it. The last full book I read was probably, I think it was called The Two Who Survived, but it was written by Rose Schindler.
Oh, okay.
Who was a Holocaust survivor, and I actually came across her on it was Jocko's podcast.
Oh, really?
I got her book, and it was phenomenal, man.
Is that the same Schindler as Schindler's List, I imagine? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Well,
I don't know. No, I don't know. She was a Holocaust survivor. Her and her husband both Holocaust survivors.
Wow, man, that's amazing.
Great.
What was the biggest takeaway from that?
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
One of the traditions I have with every guest, and it's usually done at the very end of the show, which I think probably means that most people don't see it, is giving kind of a token of our appreciation for coming. You gave me a coin, so I'm going to give you one back.
I appreciate that.
And then also in the black box is another gift. Big thanks to John Johnson, Champion Choice Silver. John's idea and donating them, and Champion Choice Silver for making them, so you can
badass, man.
Rock that with your shit kickers if you can show that. Yeah,
I got to get a nice Texas belt before I leave, man.
You absolutely do.
It's awesome, thank you.
Yeah, Cavender's is a good place to go for that. They have boots and belt buckles. But I wanted you guys to see that. Again, it's usually done at the very end of every show, and I think a lot of people are tuned out by then, frankly. So wanted to knock that out and say thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
What's something you wish you were better at?
I would say working with my hands, like woodworking.
Yeah.
Like I wish I was a little more creative. And
you could hang out with Mike from Veteran Woodco that made the sign thing.
Well, somebody's got to make you one, that's for sure. You can run out of room back there.
I know it. He's world class at it. If time travel were possible, where and when would you go and why?
So I'll give you 2 answers for this one.
Did you know this was coming?
I knew this one was coming. As a fan of the show,
I got to mix up my lightning.
Yeah. I would go back to the revolution, man. I would like to be a fly on the wall when the Constitution was written and hear what kind of crazy fucking ideas they actually had going around before they finalized it. You know what I mean? I think that'd be cool.
I'd be curious to see how well they didn't get along when they were trying to draft it.
Yeah. I think that'd be cool, man. Yeah. And then the other one was, I can't remember who it was. You had a guest on recently who gave a really outside the box answer about looking at the future. Yeah. And seeing where like their kids are now and their grandkids are now and how they affected them. Yeah. I thought that was a really good answer. So
yeah. Yeah, it is a unique and rare one. You know, most people talk about or look backwards, and I agree. That's pretty awesome. Do you have a favorite quote?
To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift.
Amen on that.
Steve Prefontaine.
Yeah, he's a running motherfucker. That one.
He was.
Are you a runner?
Yeah, I ran track in high school, and I still run now. I run half marathons mostly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a fastest mile time?
Yeah, 8:06, something like that. 8:04, something like that.
For a mile?
Oh, for a mile? No. I don't know what my fastest mile is, but my fastest pace for a half is like 8:06.
Oh, I got you. I mean, that's fucking
8:06
moving.
Pace for like 13 miles. Yeah, that's my fastest.
Oh, it's moving. You think you could break 5 in a mile?
Oh, right now, no. Could I work up to it? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, not with that attitude, you can't. Do you have an EDC? And
I don't carry too much anymore. When I did, or when I do, it's either FN 509 or the mini Glock, which is 26, Glock 26, I think. Yeah.
Why do you not carry often? Just curious.
I don't really go out too many places where I would carry too much. If that makes sense. Like if I go out to dinner or something, I'm not carrying it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't really go to malls or anything, shit like that. Yeah. And I just don't bother with it. I carry a knife a lot.
Yeah. Is it a specific knife? Like, is it a knife fighting knife, or is it just a pocket knife?
Just a pocket knife. Yep.
What time do you get up in the morning, and what do the first 3 hours look like?
So I start every day at 3:30.
3:30.
3:30. I got that from our boy T-Cav.
Yeah.
Shout out T-Cav.
Yeah. Do you do the Mike Tyson push-ups?
I did in the beginning, and then I just go to regular push-ups now and some sit-ups to start the day. So I get up at 3:30, get my coffee. I give myself a good 30 minutes of just quiet time in my head, reflection, where I am now, where I've been, where I want to go. Get into my exercises a little bit, warm up. If I do read, which I'm trying to do better this year, I'll read a little bit of the Bible. I'm picking that up a little more this year. Then I'll get into, get my son up ready for school, start my day that way, get on that laptop, do some work.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book of the Bible?
No, I don't have a favorite book. I don't think. No.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of enjoying jumping through it and getting in touch with a little bit more things.
Yeah. Hey guys, I want to take a minute to tell you about the Mic Drop Patreon, where you can get the real mic drop experience the way it's meant to be seen. You get completely uncensored, unfiltered, and uncut episodes with nothing held back, just raw, real conversations directly from me to you, without YouTube censorship. Plus, you'll see it days before anyone else, with early premieres and exclusive bonus content that you won't find anywhere else. You get behind-the-scenes access to the show, including pre- and post-show footage, with me and the guest both in studio and on location, depending on what the guest is into and what we have going on. On top of that, we've got tons of Patreon-only perks, mic drop swag, access to exclusive merch, and the chance to submit your questions to be asked at the end of every episode. You'll also get a sneak peek at our upcoming guests, so you'll know who's in the studio weeks before anyone else. We're constantly releasing new features and dropping new content based on what you want to see. For our top tier members, you get the same mic drop challenge coin that all of my guests receive from the upcoming show, which will never ever be for sale. We've got quarterly merch that's sent out directly to you, a monthly Zoom call with me where we talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, and an active group chat where we all shoot the shit on a daily basis. All of that for just a few bucks a month to support the show. Right now, we're also offering a 10% discount off an annual subscription, which means that you get more than a free month. I want to say thank you to everyone who has already signed up. Your support means that we get to keep bringing you the content that you love. So if you haven't yet, hit the link in the description or go to patreon.com/micdrop and join the team. I'll see you guys in there. Thank you. What are the two key components for canine success? That's effective training and proper nutrition. Fueled by Team Dog brings those two components to your family and best friend. the perfect nutritional balance that results in a higher mental acuity, energy, overall vitality, and even an improved appearance. Every product you will find in my company's store was born from the battlefield and not from the boardroom. Let my life's work help you become your dog's hero. Where are you originally from?
Delaware. Milford, Delaware.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Siblings? What was growing up in Delaware like?
Had a younger brother, 5 years younger than me. Mom and dad. Mom was a stay-at-home mom, took care of us, which was a handful for her, I'm sure. Dad was blue-collar guy, truck driver for quite a few years. Asphalt driveways, engine repair, everything you can think of, man did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he teach you a lot of shit like that growing up? Like, did he?
He tried.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in it. My brother was. I was more athlete.
Yeah.
My brother was more of into that kind of stuff. So I saw how hard that man worked growing up, and I was like, man, like, I don't want to have to work that hard my whole life. Like, I got to find something else to do.
Got to be a better way.
Got to be a better way. I mean,
Does he know that? Have you told him that?
Yeah, I think he knows that. Yeah. He's 67, 68 now.
Yeah.
And he's still out there kicking his own ass every day, man.
Oh, shit.
And he loves it, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You said you were more the athlete. What sports did you play?
Baseball, football, track.
Was there a specific sport that stood out as kind of your main gig?
Baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got into track my junior year of high school. And I regretted, like, I wish I would have started sooner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really liked it.
Yeah.
Baseball is my main sport though.
What position did you play?
Center field.
Really?
Yeah.
You had a gun on you? Could you make it to home plate?
Yeah, I had a good arm and I was speedy, because I ran track, so I was fast.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Obviously that never didn't pan out to anything past.
Nah, I wasn't I wasn't at that level.
Yeah.
No. I was definitely better on defense than I was offense, that's for sure.
Yeah. How old are you?
42.
42.
Yeah.
So growing up in the 80s, basically, what was, or I guess not what, were there any significant items or events that happened during your childhood that really kind of shaped who you are or affected your path in life?
I wouldn't say there's any specific events. Growing up, I didn't really have an idea what I wanted to do. Got into high school, really didn't have anything figured out either. Terrible student, hated school.
Yeah.
And law enforcement looked pretty good. We had some friends of the family that were in law enforcement, so I got to see that a lot, which rubbed off on me. And gave it a whirl, and I fell into it. And one thing that really pushed me over the edge, like, I want to do this, was 9/11. I think that really, a lot of people got pushed in the military, which was great. We needed that. It pushed me into law enforcement, watching, like, those guys run into the towers and stuff, knowing they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Like, that really rubbed off on me a lot.
You, what, like a sophomore, junior in high school, or?
I was my first year in college.
Oh, okay.
I was community college, yeah.
Oh, no shit. So when you graduated high school, before 9/11, was that kind of your plan, was to? Yeah.
When I was 18, I started like a summer program at a beach department where they hire you as like a summer cop, basically, really minor misdemeanor arrests, parking, stuff like that. So I did that for like 3 summers.
Yeah.
And kind of get my feet wet a little bit, see if I liked it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything significant happened during that time?
It was fun. There was always like bar fights and shit. You're breaking up, chasing drunks and stuff. It was fun. It's a fun job, man.
Yeah. So, but then 9/11 happens, and that like really solidifies your desire to join law enforcement.
Yeah, I think that really pushed it over the edge for me. Like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. We're gonna give it a try.
From 9/11 until when you actually joined the police department, what was that path like?
So did the summer thing, and then just odd and end jobs. I coached some high school track. Worked at a French fry place for a while, shit like that. Nothing crazy.
You say
maintenance. No. Well, dropped in some French fries in the fryer.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And some maintenance work jobs, stuff like that, just odd and end stuff to get by.
Was there okay, it's time to join, this is what I'm going to do type of moment?
As soon as I turned 20, like 20 and a half, I could start applying, because you got to be 21 by the time you graduate the academy.
I got you.
And I ended up going to the academy right after I turned 21.
What was that like, expectation versus reality?
I didn't know what to expect. I was still young, didn't really have any experience with anything like that. I wasn't military or nothing. It was kind of eye-opening, because it's Delaware State Police Academy is somewhat military based, they say. Like I said, I wasn't military, so I couldn't tell you. So, I cleaned my shit up pretty good, pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long is that process?
Academy is 6 months, like 26 weeks, 27 weeks, something like that.
And when you graduated, then you went where?
I started my career at Dewey Beach, where I was a summer cop at.
Yeah.
And I was there for a couple years. Moved on to another department for about a year and a half, and then landed at City in Milford, where I spent most of my career.
Yeah. The build up to that, like looking back on it, was that a good kind of linear, gradual ramp up to operational tempo being what it was, or? Yeah,
I mean, I got, like being at the beach cop, it was fun. I got some experience down there, getting hands on and stuff with, people that want to act up. Wintertime was just like, it was just fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like it's just nothing there. It's a resort town, and I just had to get, my goal was always to get back to Milford because that was my hometown.
Yeah.
So got out of Dewey, went to another department called Camden, Delaware, a little bit bigger, more to do. Got my feet wet there, and when some openings started coming up at Milford, I just started putting in, and as soon as I can get out of there, I did. So.
And how big of a town is Milford?
So we have about 40 officers, and I'd say the population is probably around 12 to 15,000.
Okay. And so, having spent most of your time there, what kind of a town is that like? I mean, what's the typical responses that you're dealing with?
We get a lot of like felonious activity. We get burglaries, robberies. We get a lot of gunshot victims downtown and like the worst areas.
Is it a lower income area?
Yeah, we have a lot of low income areas. A lot of like Section 8 housing complexes and stuff like that downtown. So we get a fair amount of action at night.
I mean, if somebody asked you, like, how would you characterize Milford, Delaware as a city? Like, would you say that's kind of a shithole, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, sorry for all you guys in Milford. That's why I don't live there anymore. It's kind of a dump, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the people are great. Like the good people there, they're great people. There's some great things to do there, some great restaurants and stuff. But from my point of view of things, like, I ain't fucking living there.
Is there a predominant industry there that drives the town?
Chicken plants.
Oh, really?
Big chicken plants. A lot of chicken farms in Delaware.
Like big, like Tyson brand.
Yeah, like Purdue.
Oh, okay.
We have Purdue chicken farms.
It's like big industrial chicken farms.
Yeah. So they processing plant and stuff. That's like the big thing in town.
I got you.
Yeah.
What was your first couple of years there like? And looking at your storied career of a lot of different special units, were they all done there in Milford?
Yeah.
Which one of them did you do first?
I worked part-time in the drug unit, like on and off, which was okay. But the first thing I got there was I got on SWAT first after about a year and a half.
Oh, really?
And that's like a part-time team.
It's not a full...
Not full-time, no. Part-time. My first full-time gig there was K9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess taking a couple steps back, I mean, with SWAT being basically the first thing, in a town of 12 to 15,000 and it being like a collateral duty, basically.
Yeah.
Was it still busy? Like, were there operations that you went on that were significant?
For us at that time in the beginning, when I got on, things changed over time. But when I first got on, we were doing 1 to 2 hits a month, and it was all drug warrants, basically.
Yeah.
We concentrated on the high risk warrants for like drugs or sometimes an arrest warrant if we had to execute one. Mostly drugs. So we were doing like 2 a month for the first couple of years, probably.
Any of them go sideways?
Nah, we pretty fortunate. We never had any shootings or anything when I was on the team, which was good. But nothing crazy now.
Yeah. What's the training schedule like for a collateral SWAT officer? Like, how many times do you guys train in a month?
For us, it was terrible. We got 1 8-hour day a month.
Really?
And then they tried to give us, I think it was one entire week in the summer.
Yeah.
But manpower usually cut that back, guys on the road and stuff. So, yeah, only 8-hour day, 1 8-hour day a month, which is obviously totally not enough.
Yeah. I mean, did you find that you guys still gelled at least relatively well, or was it a fucking kind of a mess?
No, we gelled pretty well. I mean, like I said, it's a smaller department, 40 guys, so everyone kind of works well together on patrol anyway.
Yeah.
So you try to keep up with stuff on patrol with training on when you have off time, downtime and stuff.
Yeah.
So we gelled pretty good.
Did you guys have a dedicated canine for SWAT?
Not until I got a dog.
Oh, okay. Were you the first canine handler for the department?
First canine handler to go to SWAT.
Okay.
To work integrated with a SWAT team.
I gotcha. So the department had dogs prior to that.
Right.
Yeah. I guess still kind of focusing on SWAT. Combatives wise, did most of you guys train outside of
Nah, there was a couple of us that that role we did some jits.
Yeah.
I did for a few years and I ended up getting out of it. But I'd say at the time there was like 3 of us, and we got like a 10 or 12 man team. I think 3 of us did combatives.
Yeah. I'm always surprised by how few police officers train on their own. I mean, I do think that that's a glaring hole in police training, especially given, if you think about shooting as an example, and even shooting in some ways is even a bad example in that the lack of shooting training. But it seems like most cops that I talk to or know or interview, do some shooting on their own, some do a lot, and it's always surprising to me. It's like if you ask, how many times have you drawn your weapon?
Yeah.
Well, never. It's
Right.
Like, how many times have you gone hands on with somebody? Well, fucking hundreds.
Right. Yeah.
You shoot and you don't train. Like that makes no fucking sense
It's
to
wild,
me.
man.
That and just like you see so many videos out there. Even if you spend 6 months training jiu-jitsu, and you watch how most interactions go, where a cop goes hands on with somebody and they resist. There's just so many fucking obvious mistakes made. It's just like, man, if you had even just a basic understanding, you'd be so much more effective. I mean, to me, it's officer safety, it's citizen safety, it's even PR, because I mean, to me, it looks way worse if a dude's doing overhand rights, or elbowing somebody in the face versus, body lock, take them down, restrain them, cuff them, and like that looks way better, and people I think generally are less pissed off about it, which I would like to get into that Tyreek Hill video if
I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I will say, like, guys just don't want to invest in themselves for the most part.
I do think departments need to or should be better about providing some sort of regular basic training with grappling and ground fighting skills, but so you did it for a few years and then you stopped. What made you?
I was not making a lot of money at the time, and my wife and I had just got engaged, so we were saving up for a wedding, and it was just it became out of my budget. I just bought a new house.
Yeah.
It was just not in the budget, so I ended up getting out of it, and then getting into other things like CrossFit and stuff. Started running more.
Yeah. All right. So with the SWAT stuff, everything seemed to go pretty well. Did you do any narcotics work after that, or was that before?
I went into narcotics full time after my dog passed.
Oh, okay. So chronologically, it was SWAT, K9, then narcotics.
Correct.
And then the Marshals stuff after.
Correct.
That. Okay. So kind of walking through that now, we'll dig into the K9 stuff since that's what happened next. So you get your first dog.
Yep.
Walk us through the meeting and how that whole, like how you even kind of fell into it.
So we had a spot open. I think only 2 of us put in, and I got selected.
How many dogs did your department have?
2.
Okay.
So spot came open, I put in, got it, and got my dog a couple weeks later, and I was scared shitless, man.
Of the dog or just in
Of the
general?
dog.
Yeah. Was he kind of a motherfucker? Or?
Dude, he was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Giant shepherd.
Where did you guys get him from? Shallow Creek?
I got him from a vendor in Pennsylvania. I can't remember what it was called now. I don't even think he's around anymore. But he flew him in from the Netherlands, and I got him the next day.
Oh, wow.
And he was all black, some brown on his paws, shepherd. Beautiful dog. And I remember I got there, he was huge. He looked huge. And then when they brought him out, and they were like, I hope you got rocks in your pockets. And I was like, shit, man. I remember just getting the lead and just like kind of hanging there like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I remember when I drove him home, I had an outdoor kennel for him. I was like, man, what am I going to do with this fucking thing?
Yeah.
And I remember getting home, opening the door up to the kennel in my yard, and backing my car up to the kennel so I could like open that door up and kind of like a little runway for him.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to touch this motherfucker right now.
Of course,
and I
you
just kind of squirted him right in there, man. Yeah. I was scared to death of him.
What was the feeling out or break-in process for you to bond with him? Was
So
there anything
I think
specific?
we had him for, I think they gave me 2 weeks with him before we started training.
So just said bond with him, hang out.
Bond with him, hanging out. So, I take him out and, play with the Kong with him a little bit, sit with him. For the first few days I sat with him. If I sat with him, I sat like outside the kennel.
Yeah.
And just kind of pet him through the kennel, love up on him a little bit. And then I start taking him out more and more and playing with him and just, get in touch with him that way.
Yeah. Did he give you any pucker factor moments that first 2 weeks?
At home, no, not really. Outing him from the Kong was an experience because I didn't have any training with that yet. And he did not want to let go of that thing. You know what I mean? So that was that was kind of like a oh shit moment. Yeah. He didn't turn on me or anything like then. It wasn't until we got into training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first block of training you did with him?
We started with simple obedience, and I remember it was like the first or second correction I gave him. He just turned and pop, just bit the shit out of my arm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I ended up puncturing my wrist. He fucked me up pretty good.
What? So I mean, the gist was you put like a prong collar on him. And
I think we started with. I think it was prong collar we started with, and just a simple correction. I think it was like a right hand turn.
Yeah.
And he wasn't feeling it.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, would you have approached that differently?
At that moment?
I mean,
or just in general, like
just
getting
in general. Not that far in general, but I guess the training methodology.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have started with a prong collar.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not that I'm fishing for, or trying to steer it in a certain direction. I guess I'm just curious. I mean, like for me, I import dogs all the time and have for a long time. And for me, like I always, methodology wise, spend the first however long until it feels like we're cool.
Yeah.
Before I do anything with them, and then I use food.
Okay.
To just shape behavior first.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you don't do it, then you don't get what you want. And I'm going to feed through training. And so instead of here's a bowl of food and I set it down and you eat it, you're going to eat the same amount of food. Let's say it's 3.5 cups. That's in a pouch and I've got a clicker and I'll either off leash, loose in the backyard, or a very contained kind of training classroom area, or if it's in a training area where he needs to be on leash, then I've got the leash clipped to my belt. He's on leash, and then I'm shaping eye contact, focus, attention healing, whatever, and just using food. And you do that for a few weeks, and now the dog's going to be much more likely and amicable in terms of giving him a correction and whatever. And I'm generally baffled by a lot of training departments that kind of start out that way. I mean, they at least gave you a couple weeks to bond. I mean, I've seen some where it's like, okay, day one, here's the dog, here's the leash, we're going to do fucking bite work. It's like,
we didn't
Jesus
do that.
Christ.
It took a little bit for that,
But either way, it's like, why not ramp it up and start with, using some sort of reinforcement schedule instead of positive punishment, I don't know. But anyway, so he bites the shit out of you, so now you're even more scared of him.
Oh, yeah, scared shitless.
What happened after that, or how did you handle it? How did you move forward?
I think at that time what we were doing was, not violently, but you kind of, you correct him, he bites you, and then you kind of put him to the ground, calm him down, pet him, like, hey, bud, it's okay, don't worry about it, ease him back up, and then go back into it.
You guys just kept training, basically?
Kept training.
Yeah. Did you have any other issues with him?
He bit me a few times, he bit me a couple of times, like outing him from the suit or like from his Kong, stuff like that. But nothing he didn't tear me up too bad or nothing like that.
So that was the first one was the worst?
Yeah, first one was probably the worst, yeah.
How long was the training process until you were kind of certified and ready to be on the street with him?
That was 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, for scent work for narcotics and patrol work.
Yeah. Did you have to get him certified through some foundation?
Yeah, we used, was it MPCA, I think?
Yeah.
I think it was MPCA we used.
Okay. So you get that, no problems, I assume? You managed to get him certified?
Got certified, no problems. He was phenomenal tracking dog. Yeah. I feel like I didn't even have to work hard with him at tracking. He made me look good.
Yeah.
He was just a great dog at tracking.
Yeah. Did he ever use that in the real world?
Yeah, we were very successful with tracks. I'd say the one that I was most proud of was just over a mile, hard surface.
Oh, wow.
We had a burglary one night. Guy got stabbed up real bad. And we got there within a couple minutes of it happening. The call went out pretty quick. And we got on the scent down a hard surface on the road, right down off the sidewalk on the road. Tracked the guy right to a low-income housing complex, and the guy was hiding underneath the car on the phone, calling someone to pick him up, covered in blood.
Shit. Dude, that's crazy, man.
It was awesome, man.
The whole thing was hard surface?
Whole thing, all the way.
That's impressive, man.
I was blown away.
That's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was cool.
Did he bite him, or did you just find him?
Found him underneath the car. Started giving commands. A guy came right out, and then the guy that was with me on track took him in custody. We were good.
Yeah. Do you know, I mean, was there a blood trail the whole fucking way, basically, or?
No, I didn't see any blood.
Really?
I mean, it was dark.
Yeah.
So, like, there could have been some blood droplets around there, but I didn't notice any.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
It was cool.
Did you do a lot of different tracks with him? Or successful tracks?
Yeah, we had a lot of successful tracks, man. It was, that was my favorite thing to do, man. It was just great watching a dog work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There is for sure a poetry in motion element of a good tracking dog. Yeah. All right, let's be honest. Wearing pants sucks. I'm not wearing any right now. Who am I kidding? Yes, I am. But who decided that uncomfortable fabric digging into the family jewels was the go-to look? Well, I didn't. But I am here to tell you that those days are over. Public Rec has developed a revolutionary Daymaker pant that feels as comfortable as sweats, but look and fit like tailored pants. Super stretchy, made with an elastic waistband. You can wear them absolutely anywhere, whether it's lounging around the house or out with the guys on a date, doesn't matter. You have indoor comfort with outdoor style, and for a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off their entire order when you use code MikeDrop. That's MikeDrop, MIKEDROP, all caps, all one word, at publicrec.com. That's 20% off your order at publicrec.com with the promo code MikeDrop. You know, the products that I've received are super comfortable. And again, they look like pants, but they don't feel like pants, which to me is pretty clutch. So I can't recommend them enough. Usually when you order comfortable pants, you get small, medium, large. With Daymaker, you get the exact width and length that you need, so regular pant size, which is pretty handy. They come in 10 unique colors from navy, dark olive, stone gray. Guaranteed you'll find the right one. It's a proprietary blend of materials. It's a perfect combo of breathability and stretch while holding its form and not being saggy. You may never want to take them off. It not only has the most comfortable pants ever made, but they've got a huge selection of high quality everyday basics. Revamped the entire wardrobe with some comfortable stuff. Stop suffering in regular pants. For a limited time, our listeners get 20% off when you use the code MikeDrop at checkout. That's 20% off with the code MikeDrop, all caps, all one word, at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them that we sent you. Say goodbye to pants that put up a fight, because when comfort meets style, you found Public Rec. As you guys know, sleep is a huge component to recovery and really all aspects in life, and it's something that a lot of us have struggled with, for a lot of our lives, frankly. As you know, I've been a big proponent of Beam, which is a hot cocoa that you drink before you go to sleep, and it's helped tremendously in terms of hours of sleep maintained as well as the quality of sleep. Today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, which is their science-backed hot cocoa for sleep, and it's got no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. As you know, other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess and just make you feel crappy, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, and apigenin, also melatonin, to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/MikeDrop, all caps, all one word, and use code MikeDrop, all one word, all caps, at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/MikeDrop and use code MikeDrop for up to 40% off. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco. It's your good buddy Mike Ritland here with the Mike Drop Podcast. If you are an adult age 21 and older and use nicotine or tobacco, I want to tell you about an American-made success story and Black Buffalo's award-winning nicotine pouches. Black Buffalo's nicotine pouches are not owned by Big Tobacco. They're an independent company proudly built right here in the USA for 21 and over adult consumers. Black Buffalo was built by dippers with decades of smokeless tobacco use. They believed the market wanted a tobacco alternative nicotine product that offered the best of both worlds: bold flavor, full pouches. What are they made of? It's pretty simple: cured edible green leaves, food-grade ingredients, and pharmaceutical-grade nicotine. Most importantly, there's no tobacco leaf or stem. Black Buffalo is all about the history and tradition of dip, but they understand the convenience and discretion modern-day consumers are looking for. Black Buffalo's nicotine pouches give you the versatility to consume discreetly, but still keep the ritual with flavors dippers love. Mint, straight, and wintergreen, all proudly made right here in the USA. So, if you're 21 and older, consume nicotine or tobacco, and want to join the Black Buffalo herd, head over to blackbuffalo.com to learn more. You can order nicotine pouches online, and they ship directly to most states. Or check out their store locator to purchase pouches at thousands of retail locations around the country. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative, bold flavor, full pouches. Guys, as you know, I work with a number of different products. One that's easily the most near and dear to my heart from a cause standpoint and a personal relation standpoint is Bub's Naturals. The hat on the coffee table sitting right in front of me belonged to Glenn Doherty. It was a John Deere hat that I gave him. He had it when he tragically passed in Benghazi. And I was fortunate enough to get it back from one of the co-owners of Bud's. He sent it back to me to be able to keep. Bub's Naturals is a tribute to Glenn. He was one of everybody's, he was kind of that guy that was everybody's best friend. I met several people that considered him his best friend, and he was a guy that was impossible not to like, and just, caused happy waves that rippled through every community he was ever a part of. His nickname was Bub, and that's where Bub's Naturals comes from. But it's a lifestyle brand. It's inspired by Glenn. They give a ton to charity. They've donated over $200,000 to charitable causes since their inception in 2018. On Veterans Day, 100% of the proceeds go to the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation, which does phenomenal work helping active duty and children of lost active duty members go to college or scholarships that they've donated a ton, and they also are heavy into the recreation space of helping people do that, because that's what Bub was all about. They have collagen peptides, which I put into my morning routine every single morning, as well as the functional creamer / MCT oil that goes into it as well. They have hydrate or die electrolyte drink mixes, which are great for pre-workout, during workout, and post-workout to get all the added sodium, potassium, magnesium, etc. that's required when you deplete it. And they now have Bub's Brew, which is a specialty organic coffee that is also very, very good. It's USDA organic, fair trade. It's Whole30 approved, which is the first time that's happened. It's free of yeast, mold, and aflatoxins. Small lot roasted, guaranteed fresh, and it tastes great. Biggest thing is Bub's is a family company. The way that they started is, again, super close to my heart, with him being one of my closest friends for a long time. And I just can't say enough good things about that company, of the product that they put out, why they started, what they give back to veteran communities and the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation. And I encourage you to go to bubs.com, and now there's a landing page specifically for Mic Drop listeners. Just enter the code Mike, M-I-K-E, all caps, and you get 20% off your first purchase at bubsnaturals.com. So that's www.bubsnaturals.com/Mike. And you can check out the Mic Drop landing page and go support an amazing cause. Shepherds tend, at least my experience, tend to be a little more methodical and a little better at it.
Yeah.
I think they're just a little more intentional with their search behavior. But so with the whole span of K9, how long did you have him for?
I think it was almost 7 years I had him. We were at work one day. It was July 4th, and we were on day work. We had just started. I worked permanent nights for quite a few years, and they just changed the rotation that they're going to make me work days and nights. So I was on day work this day, and got done at I think it was 7 o'clock. We got off, and on the way home, he got kind of sick in the back seat, hacked up a little bit, and I was like, whatever, they hack shit up once in a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking much of it. And then got home, opened the door up, and he wouldn't come out. And usually when we get home, he's like a rocket, you know what I mean? And he wouldn't come out. He's just real lethargic. Couldn't get comfortable, so I had to kind of ease him out of the car. I had to carry him over to the kennel. And then he would sit up and lay down, and wouldn't drink anything. I was like, man, this ain't fucking good. So I called our on-call vet, took him in, and they're like, he's dehydrated. I think he's going to be fine. Just needs me to get some fluids in him. We'll keep him overnight, call you back in the morning. All right. So that was like 9. And then I get a phone call at like 2:30, and they're like, hey, there's something else going on with him. We don't know what it is. We're going to take him in surgery because there's something internally going on. We'll call you back. I'm like, all right. And then it was like 3:12 a.m. I remember looking at my phone when it rang. It said 3:12. And they called me back, and they're like, we're sorry you didn't make it.
Fuck, man.
And they said that their best guess was that he was ate up with cancer, and we just never knew it.
Really?
Yep. That was it. He just died on the table.
So they didn't do like a full autopsy to see?
Nah, the department wouldn't pay for it.
Really? Man. I mean, they could at least rule out that it wasn't like a foreign object in his guts or anything.
Nah, it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
Doctor just said, it was probably just best guess. It was a cancer that got overlooked and just missed anywhere in testing and stuff.
Wow.
So it was kind of crazy.
Man, that's brutal.
So it was, man, like when you lose, like especially like in law enforcement, like when you lose your dog, it just turns your world upside down because now it's like your whole job changes if you don't get another dog,
Yeah.
So it was
and they denied you getting another dog, right?
They denied me getting another dog.
Do you know, did they say why?
They said it was time for me to move on and give someone else a chance.
Really?
Which at that time, I didn't want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
I thought it was bullshit at the time.
Yeah.
But they were probably right.
Man.
Yeah.
But so you worked with them for 7 years, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during that 7-year period, I mean, you mentioned the number of tracks. Are there any other either good call out stories or find and bite or any other cool stories you remember that you can share?
Yeah, I had when I was assisting the drug unit one night, and they were watching the drug house, and they had a guy leave who just bought, and they lost him. So I saw him on like a side street, so I jumped out on him by myself. I had Hank with me, but jumped out on him, stopped the guy, got him up against the front of my car, pat him down a little bit, and as I'm patting him down, he just turns and swings on me. I trip, stepping back over the sidewalk, I trip. Guy gets on top of me like UFC style, and fucking door popper, man. I just went right to it, popped the door open, and he heard it, like the horn go off, and he turned and looked, and he realized, like, oh, fuck. And he got up and took off running, and then Hank came around the front of the car. The guy took off around the back, and I remember he stopped and looked at me, the dog, like, you want me to go get him? So I just, sent him, and then he caught the guy across the street in the backyard, man. It was awesome, man. It was a great
Did he
feeling.
fuck him up or what?
Fucked him up, dude.
Yeah. Where did he get him?
Man, he started in the leg, and then he typewritered him all the way up to his arm.
Dude, that's
Yeah, and then I held him on the arm until I got more units there to help me get him off, or not get him off, but until I got him in a position where we could take him in custody.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
It's
man.
like textbook use of
Textbook.
of everything.
Textbook right there. It was like it was early on. It was like we were on the street for like a couple months, and I was like, that's my fucking guy.
That's
right
fucking
there.
lifesaver. I mean, imagine like if you hadn't have had them, had him.
Yeah, what could happen?
Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it would have been able to or had to shoot the guy or there's a million what ifs, but man, what a great story.
It was great.
Any other deployments where he bit people?
Yeah, I think we had 7 bites. A couple of them were like on vehicle pursuits. Guy bailed out. We had I had 2 on burglaries where we located guys in a bush, called them out. It was crazy. It was like they were both like identical scenarios. Called the guy out of a bush, walking backwards, keep your hands up, and both of them dipped their hands down their waistband. I just sent it. It was textbook bike right on the bicep, just textbook, man.
Did they have weapons on?
Neither one of them had weapons on them.
Really?
Just stupid. I don't know what the other were doing. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like they're trying to get shot. I mean,
get shot or get bit. I don't know, man. People do dumb shit. It's crazy the shit you see out there sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so with that, I mean, that's obviously a split-second judgment call.
Yeah.
For you personally, I know, every situation is different. Every handler with their dog, their department's protocols, et cetera, can vary drastically from unit to unit. But for you personally, is that something that you would kind of default to, is that if you suspect somebody either might have a gun or they act like they're drawing one, would you always send the dog, or are there times where...
I mean, situation based. I mean, that guy, like those two, like walking back to me, I'm behind cover. I mean, it's 20 feet. I'm sending the dog.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fuck with a taser.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shoot you because I don't know if you actually have a weapon yet. I didn't see it, but you're dipping your hand down. I have the dog as a tool.
Yeah.
I'm confident in that dog. I'm going to send him because I still have lethal cover.
Yeah. Lethal cover yourself, or you have other units?
Other units.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, other units.
Because I guess the one thing, I mean, I've never been in that position, but
Yeah.
in thinking of being in that position, the one thing that I would worry about is if he does and manages to get around
Friendly
off and
fire.
shoot your dog.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I mean, whether
Yeah.
it's friendly fire or he manages to get around off, I know that, dogs are there to release the liability on human beings. Having said that, it's like, does it make more sense to just try to engage him or draw on him or
Yeah, it's questionable.
Yeah.
They were very big on utilizing the dog as much as possible.
Yeah.
They made that clear all the time. So we just tried to use them as much as we could.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're, the tough morality question is if you had to pick between losing your dog or
Losing the bad guy.
Or having to shoot and kill a bad guy, like,
I'd rather shoot and kill the bad guy and save my dog.
or let's say, and even shit. I don't blame you, and agreed, but especially if he's armed. But the shitty scenario is, what if he's not?
Exactly. You had that tool there and you didn't use it.
Yeah, it's like
That's
just
the
a
question.
lose-lose, and I hope for the people listening that are critical of law enforcement, which, let's be honest, there's probably not a lot of people listening to my show that are, but there are some. Is that those are things that these guys have to deal with and think about and make those decisions, and it's not like they're making it in this environment where you're in a well-lit room, in the day, and you're caffeinated and you're relaxed. Like, it's fucking middle of the night, it's dark, adrenaline's flowing, there's other guys there. There's a lot going on, and I think that's one thing that so many people take for granted, is that you guys have to make those decisions all the time.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes it's the lesser of two evils, or it's, neither option is good, and you just have to go with whatever makes sense. And that's tough. And I wish more people understood that. But any other good Hank stories?
A lot of the similar ones like that, cool, good bites like that, vehicle pursuits, guys bailing out in vehicle pursuits, but nothing too crazy other than that.
From an athleticism standpoint, does one of the bite scenarios stand out as being the most impressive display of his athleticism?
I had one time. It was a vehicle pursuit, and the guy was jumping over a 6-foot fence, and he was over it. And he got him on the his ankle as his last foot was going over.
Oh,
that
Christ.
Fence and pulled him right down. The whole fence went down.
Oh, man. So it was like Hank's on one side, he's on the other, and he's got his foot.
And the fence fell right over on the bad guy.
Imagine if it didn't fall over. Like,
right.
That'd break your fucking ankle.
Oh, probably, tear it right up.
Possibly even rip your foot off, honestly.
That was probably the most athletic thing I've seen. He was a big boy, man. He was like, I tried to keep him at like 95 pounds. He was a big dude.
Wow. Any of the bites stand out as being the most significant damage-wise?
No, he didn't have anything too. I've seen some really gruesome shit in dog bites, but he didn't have anything too severe that would stand out now.
Yeah. Did any of the guys that worked him regularly in the suit or whatever? Was he an average biting dog, harder than average?
He had a hard bite, like a really hard bite. I could never get him to get a full deep mouth bite.
Really?
He liked getting up front with his front teeth, and he was a big typewriter guy, and just bite you up and down until he got a good clinch on you and wouldn't let go. But he would never get like a real good deep bite. Could never get it in.
From a training principle standpoint, did you guys approach that of trying to fix it?
I think we tried to early on. It just I can't remember where it went. It just didn't stick. I guess I don't remember.
Yeah. How many? So you had 2 dogs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any full-time trainers? I assume not.
So not with our agency. We trained with a larger agency at the time, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, and they have like 500 officers.
Oh, wow.
Big K9 unit, like 20-some dogs, I think.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
A full-time trainer, I imagine.
Full-time trainer, yeah. It was a pretty legit unit.
Yeah, that's awesome. How often did you guys train with them?
Every other month. I think it was every other week. We trained 1 8-hour day every other week, and then we had like 2 whole weeks in the summer we did every day.
Yeah, wow. Anything else you want to talk about, Hank, before we move on to the undercover narc stuff?
Nah, no really other good stories. Just fucking great dog, man.
Yeah.
I loved him, and
obviously a big hole in your heart when he passed so unexpectedly. And
it was, the whole family, man. It was tough. It was really tough when he left.
Did you guys keep him in the house, or was
no?
he always out?
He stayed outside. Yeah. We had a lab too.
Yeah.
A pet. And he did not like him, so it was just important to keep them separated.
Yeah.
But he was great with the family. He's great with my son.
Yeah.
Great with my wife.
That's
Just
wild.
didn't like the other dogs.
Yeah. So when you tried to get another dog and said, no, it's time for you to move on, you went right from there to undercover narcotics?
Yeah, they gave me a couple days off, and they gave me 2 options. You can go back to patrol, be assistant shift commander, or you can take this spot in the drug unit that we got open. Yeah. So I took it.
I guess while we're in a transition phase, at what point did you show up to a bachelorette party and they thought that you were the stripper? And what does the missus think of that?
That was in the early days. Before that? Yeah, that was.
Do you believe his full story?
I've seen pictures.
She's seen pictures.
Yeah, that was like
that's fucking hilarious.
Not even 6 months after I was at the academy, probably.
Oh wow. So you're like 21, looking the part.
I was like 21, 22, I think.
Yeah. High and tight, barrel-chested, fucking walking in there.
Oh, just looking good, man. Squared away.
God, that's hilarious.
And that was. Yeah,
so what happened? I mean,
again, dude, it was a small town. This was wintertime. It was like December or January or something. And get a call one night for a loud party across the street from the mayor's house. The mayor was the reporting person. I'm like, all right. So I head on over there, like whatever. Go up to the door, knock on it. And I hear the music inside. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good party, And then the door swings open, and it's just a bunch of chicks. And we used to get a lot. We get a lot of foreigners there, like on work visas and stuff. We get a lot of like Russians and Irish and stuff like that. And it was a house full of Russian chicks. Not much English going on.
Yeah.
And besides the one word stripper, which when they grabbed me and pulled me in, they started yelling stripper. And next thing you know, I'm just like in the middle of them in the living room, and they're like ripping shit off them. I got buttons popping off and shit. And I'm screaming at them, I'm not a stripper, but they don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Yeah. So I get my way back over the door and get out and start pointing at my car. And they finally like register it. And they just kind of go back in and close the door. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do from this point. They turned the music off, and I was like, I'm fucking leaving. So I head back to the department and do like a little report on it, And the guy comes in the morning to relieve me at 7, and I'm telling him the story, the whole thing. He's, oh, it's crazy, man, da-da-da-da. And then later that day, the guy from the local paper came in. He goes to like the complaint logs, and he's like, oh, what's this one? Well, the dude tells the reporter the whole fucking story, and the guy printed it. And it went in the fucking paper, yeah. So and then the following summer, the locals would recognize me, and they started calling me the stripper guy.
Yeah, God, that's awesome.
Yeah, I still got the news article.
Did you get any tips?
Any tips?
Yeah, any tips?
Man, loose clothing.
No, I mean, did they give you any tips?
No tips. I think when they realized what was going on, I think they thought it was shit.
Dude, that's dicey, man. Like, if they get too aggressive, you'd be fucking tasing them. Maybe they're into that. Maybe it'd be some weird shock kink that they're into.
It was interesting, but I made the paper and I got the article at home. It was pretty good.
That's awesome. That's
a funny story.
So I guess with that, or I guess in that environment you were talking about, there's a ton of Irish, Russian. What industry is bringing in so many foreign workers?
Servers, restaurants. Really? Yeah, a lot of servers and restaurants.
Maybe some other stuff.
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't
Delaware
be surprised.
big hooker state or what?
I don't know. It could be, I guess. I don't know, but
I mean, Biden's from there, right? Or he's originally from Scranton, I think. But
he's Delaware. But
he spends a lot of time there.
His beach house is like 10 minutes from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does that fuck your guys' schedule?
It's a fucking train wreck, man.
Every
traffic
time.
With that guy, and then when he flies in the state park. He lives by a state park, and they close the fucking park down.
Wow.
It's a pain in the ass.
To me, like, not to get off on a tangent, but whether it's like here in Trump with golf courses, or to me, if I was in that position, like, I would at least try to be mindful. I mean, yes, you have to live your life, but like, I would try to be mindful of the guys that it's their job to protect me and not be a bigger pain in the ass than necessary.
And he's there like every weekend, man.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. Yeah. Like, I think most presidents, or all of them, are guilty of it to a certain extent.
I mean, like you said, he's got to have a life. So, like, I'm not like pissed off he's there all the time, but it's like, dude, like,
I don't know.
Make it a little easier for us.
Yeah, I'd try to figure something out that was more.
Plus, I'm not a fan, so it just rubs me wrong anyway.
It's easier to get more angry about.
Yeah, exactly.
From how many years have you been out of the police force?
I retired December 4th of 22.
Okay, so a little bit of time still with him. Do you get the impression that most of your colleagues that you've worked with over the years are more right leaning?
Yes,
but not all of them, right? There's certainly
I wouldn't say all of them, but I would say 95 or
Oh,
more
wow.
percent. Like
Yeah.
at least from my people that I know and deal with. Yeah.
And would you say that that's pretty consistent across the board?
I think so. I mean, I think, everywhere it's different, but I think majority, I think most lean to the right for sure, man.
Yeah.
Especially with the whole defund the police shit the last few years.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's just kind of,
Rubbed everybody the wrong way.
it's-
Yeah, I can understand that. All right, so they give you a few days off, and then was it something that you picked, or were you voluntold? Like how did
For the drugs?
Yeah, how did that?
I was stressed out at the time. My dog passed. My shift mate, about a month earlier from my dog passing, took his own life.
Oh fuck, man.
He was also my oldest childhood friend. We ended up working together and being shift mates.
Really?
Do
you know what happened? I mean, what was he just depressed or what?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. This is the whole, see something, say something thing. I tell people, like, you could tell something was off with him, like he just wasn't happy. And, nobody said shit, including myself. Yeah. And just got the call one night.
Man.
He ended it at home. His wife and kid were home. And
Fuck, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
it was rough, so I dealt with that. And then a couple months before that, we had another officer that, it's a small state, so you kind of know everybody. We had another officer, he got killed on a traffic stop. Rough year for me, man.
Yeah.
And so, I needed a fucking break, like from the road. So they offered me the drug spot to give me a break, and I took it.
How does that differ, other than the obvious, like you're not on patrol, so is it just like a normal 9 to 5, but with...
Yeah, you kind of make your own schedule. And it's it's a small department, so it's a one-man drug unit.
Oh, wow.
So I depend a lot on neighboring agencies to work with their units.
So, I mean, what are the marching orders in that scenario if it's just you? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I assume, like, the autonomy is significant to be able to do kind of whatever you want. Like, what is there a mission statement? Do they say, okay, you're the drug guy, figure it out? Or, like, what's the
Yeah,
right
it's
and
pretty
left
much
line?
dropped in your lap. Like, here it is, what we need you to do, go make drug arrests.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't send me any specific training or anything. And I had training in it because I'd always been interested in it. So, I sought out my own training, drug investigators courses and whatnot. And, but like I said, I started relying on neighboring agencies, like shadowing them for a while and learning kind of like, FTOing myself with them, field training a little bit with them and just picking up what they were doing, studying them, and ended up doing a lot with the neighboring agencies to work. I had to rely on them because I'm by myself,
Yeah. So, is there a typical day or week? Like, what do you do as a narcotics officer?
So, sometimes you get intel in from the public, hey, I think this house is dealing drugs, which is pretty typical.
Would you say a lot of the work that you do starts with leads like that?
Yeah, leads like that, or someone gets locked up for something and they want to try to help themselves out and work on it a little bit, for a plea deal or something at court. So like, hey, I got this intel. That's how you flip informants too, right? Like, hey, I know this guy sells over here, and I can go buy from there. Well, boom, now you got an informant. Now you can start doing buys from there and building the case, right?
Yeah.
So he just kind of went that way about it.
What kind of deal? Like, let's say somebody approaches you and say, hey, I know a guy that's, I'll do a buy or whatever as an undercover or an informant. Like, what does that knock off their sentence, or is it just totally fucking dependent?
It depends on the Attorney General's office and how they want to work it. You got to run it by them first, obviously, because they're in charge of that. But, it might be something like, drop in like, it could be some like bullshit shoplifting thing where it's like, okay, we're going to give you probation instead of like paying this large ass fine or giving you 6 months in jail because you're a fucking repeat offender, something simple like that. Or it could be dropping like depending on the case of, what they're doing for the drug case, it could be something as much as like dropping a felony to like a misdemeanor for you or something.
Is that the biggest reduction in sentence that you've seen for cooperation that way, or is there one?
I've seen some bigger stuff like with big cases, like Title IX cases, like wiretap cases and stuff. Like that's like you're getting in like federal level and stuff with that.
Like what would the knockoff be for? Like what's the biggest reduction you've seen?
Like you got locked up for some drug related charges yourself, like some major drug related charges, and maybe you found you have ends with a much bigger fish, and we're just going to fucking let you go out of it skate free.
So it could be like a 10-year sentence.
Oh yeah, and get nothing. Yeah, I mean it just depends on how big the case is that you're working with.
But you've seen ones that big before where it's decades of time taken. Wow.
Yeah, but as an investigator, like that's out of your hands.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a DA kind of thing.
Yeah,
yeah. All right, so how many years did you do the narcotic stuff for?
So It was 4 years, and I did that at the same. I ended up when I got into the Marshals task force. I did both of those together at the same time. I had 2 full-time jobs.
Oh wow! So with the Marshals, I mean that's a collateral thing, though, right? Like you're not actually working for their agency.
No, so you're kind of like loaned out. Like so, the Marshals swear you in. They'll deputize you. So you have federal arrest powers, so you can travel over state lines and whatnot.
They give you the credentials and everything.
They give you the creds. Oh. You still work for your agency, and you abide by their policies and procedures, and you got to abide whatever procedures the Marshals have too, obviously. But you're adapted into there, get the federal powers now. Because you got to be able to do federal reports, federal search warrants, arrest warrants, whatever you got to do.
Yeah. So before we get into the Marshal stuff, the 4 years or the several years spent in narcotics, were there any, I guess, wild cases or things that transpired? I mean, are you, like, it reminds me of, have you seen Point Break, right?
Yeah.
Like Tom Sizemore's like in the flannel with the beard, but like were there times where you're like full blown street clothes undercover trying to do shit?
Yeah. I looked like dog shit when I was in there. My wife loved it. I had I had like hair down on my chest. I had this patchy, ugly ass red beard.
Yeah, you hated it.
Oh, it was gross. Yeah. It was
gross. Yeah. Did that affect shit at home legitimately? Like,
yeah.
What's that?
His hair would get like he would let it get like really greasy. And he was also training for a marathon at the time, so he was so skinny.
Yeah.
He
That's
looked the part.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It was great when we went out to dinner.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
But it was a fun job, man. You get to fucking play actor, man. It was cool. And I didn't do anything like really big cases. It's just minor street level shit. Yeah. It was fun,
But I mean, I'm assuming you lived nearby or in the same town, right? Like,
when I was in that, we lived about 15 minutes outside of town, so it's pretty close, yeah.
And is there a worry and B, a protocol to try to mitigate running? Like if you're out with the family at fucking Golden Corral or whatever.
I had a protocol. It was basically like she knew the look I would give her, or if I just started like peeling off and disappearing, she knew to take her and our son out to the car.
Did you ever do that just because you're in a shitty mood and you don't want to deal with fucking cleanup or anything like that?
Probably like once a week.
You didn't know that, did you?
Yeah.
All right, so you get kidnapped by the U.S. Marshals,
yep.
and they start pulling you in. What was kind of the jump off point? Like, what did they say to you, and how did it go?
I kind of forced my way on there a little bit. Yeah. So I did the drug thing. I was doing the drug thing like 6 months there, and then the detectives in my agency were working on a fugitive case, and they were using the Marshals task force to help them. And I came in to help out with some surveillance on it and whatnot. I thought, man, these guys are pretty fucking cool. Like, I didn't know this was really a thing. So, talked to them a little bit, got some more information about it, and then went to my admin and was like, hey, we got a whole list of fucking outstanding warrants on on some violent felonies, and CI can't handle working fugitive cases because they're working criminal cases. Like, what if you guys put me on the Marshals task force? And it took a little bit to get them there, but they're like, all right, yeah, we'll do it. But you still have to do drug work, and I'm like, all right, that's not a problem, because it kind of coincides a little bit. So I ended up, you kind of like apply for it, like your agency applies you for it, and they do a background check and everything. You go through a whole background with it, and then if they accept you, you go on and you get your creds, and you kind of just like learn as you go, kind of.
Did they make you go through the FLETC Academy for the federal credentials?
They don't send you through FLETC, but they sent me to HERFA, which is a high-risk fugitive apprehension course. And I went to that, and it was in Arizona.
How long is that?
It was a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jesus.
It was like out in Mesa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what did you first start doing with them?
So I started compiling a list of like fugitive cases we had, and basically like a day there looks like you have your team. Like my direct team was like basically 4 of us. So each of us has their own case log, and you kind of just work your cases like by priority or what you have intel on or whatever like that. And you kind of just, what do you have today? What do I have today? What takes precedence? What's going to be the more important one? Or like, who do we know? Like, we know where this guy is, and we're still looking for this guy, so we're going to go work on this one.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much work at your own pace and, figure out your schedule as you go.
And what, when was the first time you actually went and did something operationally with them?
I think it was like think it was my first day there. I think we ended up going down on like Virginia Eastern Shore, which was like a 3-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive, something like that, for a fugitive down there, like at some trailer park.
What was his rap sheet?
I think he was attempted homicide. And I think, if I remember right. But anyway, yeah, we went down there, met Virginia's team down there, and found the guy at the trailer park, called him out.
No incident?
Nah, without incident.
Yeah. How many of those, like, did you do it just one after the next? Like, were you doing a lot of those?
Yeah. I think that my last year there, I think the four of us worked like 136 or something like that. Apprehensions. And I think like 25 or 28 were homicide suspects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it typical for just the four of you to go serve?
So we worked like, it was typical for us to get to work surveillance with the four of us. But if we were doing an apprehension attempt, we would have more guys come. Like we had other guys on our team at the northern end of the state, but they're at the northern end of the state, so we didn't see them on a regular basis. And then we were close to Maryland, like Salisbury, Maryland was like 45 minutes. So the guys from that office we did a lot of work with. So we didn't really do too many operations for like apprehensions with just 3 or 4 of us. Occasionally, depending on how things worked out, we did, but not often.
About how many guys are there normally? Can you say, or is it?
I think Delaware. I think we had like maybe 15 guys on the task force. Oh, wow. Yeah, between like full time and part time.
But I mean, is like to go actually execute a high risk warrant?
We would try to get like at least 10.
Yeah. Before December 10th of 2020, did any of them go sideways? No,
we had a lot of close calls. I think it was October 2020. We had a close call on it was a vehicle assault we did, and we had 4 guys in it. I think we pulled like 6 or 7 guns out of it. I came up to the front passenger side window, and the guy actually has his hand on top of a gun on the floorboard. And he just stared at me. And I just yelled at him, like, dude, don't do it. And he just kind of looked at me with this shit-ass fucking look and just eased his hand off. So without incident. But we pulled a lot of guns out of that car, yeah. That was a pretty close call. We had a lot of close calls like that. Yeah. And it got to the point where, like, we actually talked about it like it's a numbers game. Like, eventually, like, something's going to happen at some point. You know what I mean? You just got to be ready. And then, sure enough. Yeah.
Before we get into the day that you actually got shot and everything went to hell in a handbasket, do any of the operations prior to that stand out in terms of the person that you were going after and what they were either accused or guilty of being like just way over the top of what you're used to doing? And did you also, in executing these, ever come across something that stood out as being exceptionally memorable, like in their house, like just really weird? Or because to me that's one of the fascinating things, seeing like some of the camera, like body cam footage or like cops footage, is some of the houses you go into, like the array of just fucking random weird shit that's in there. And I always found that fascinating overseas too, because it's even...
Yeah, I mean, item-wise, nothing specific. I mean, a lot of the houses are just cluttered with shit, like junk. I remember doing like search warrants and stuff all the time. I don't know. Maybe some of the other drug guys can relate. Like, we always came across like fucking a box of like dildos and shit like that. It was crazy. But you always find personal shit from people, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just, you know, it's funny as hell. So of course, you know, you dump it out and throw it on everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, for me, and I know the guys that I deployed with and whatever, like we would like hide it in each other's gear.
Right. Stupid shit like that, right? Tap somebody in the back with it, you know? Yeah.
Suction cup on the helmet.
Yeah, we did shit like that all the time. Stupid
awesome.
Shit, yeah.
That's good to know. And I guess the first question, were any of the suspects that you were going after, any of them like way over the top in terms of what they had been accused of or anything?
No, I mean, crime-wise...
Who's the biggest shitbag you went after, I guess?
Oh, well, that's a tough one. There's a lot of shitbags. They were all shitbags pretty much. But so you get a lot of, like, you know, child molesters, which is really fucking shitty. You know, like serious rapes. And then, of course, you know, your homicide suspects. Yeah. And it's like my guy was a attempted homicide suspect.
What constitutes attempted homicide versus actual?
So a shooting,
like
maybe you miss them, but you attempted, or you did shoot them, but they survived.
I gotcha. So even if you shoot somebody and you hit them and they survive, it's basically the same charge as shooting at somebody and missing.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, you're added in like assault first.
I
Some shit like that's added into it, but attempted murder's the same thing.
One thing I'm confused. Maybe you can clear it up and explain it to me like I'm 5. A lot of times you see conspiracy to commit, and also commit, whatever. What is that?
So conspiracy would be like you had somebody else with you, like someone conspired with you.
Oh, okay.
So maybe there's 2 of you or 3 of you or whatever it may be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that's really the gist of it?
That's the gist of it.
Does that just make the charge of actually doing it, it adds on to it?
Yeah, it's a separate charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you didn't do it but you were in on it, then maybe you'd be just charged with conspiracy.
Yeah, maybe you didn't shoot anybody, but you drove the guy there.
Okay.
So conspiracy.
I got you. Okay, so I guess one question before we get into the shooting. With the guys that you went after, you said a number of them were like child molester guys. Did you ever follow up and kind of get the conclusion of what happened with any of them? Like, did you pay attention?
For the case and stuff? Yeah, sometimes you'd follow up with because it's a lot of times you're working cases from like other states and like the guys are hiding out too. So you'll follow up with like that investigator, like, hey, what happened with this guy and stuff like that. Yeah, you do a lot of follow ups. Yeah, because you want to know. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I would. To me, it would be hard going after like a child molester. Being a dad, it would be hard to not dole out fucking street justice right then and there. I think.
Yeah, man, it's that's just one of those things about the job. You gotta be fucking disciplined, and it sucks. Yeah. It sucks sometimes, Yeah.
All right, so December 10th, 2020. Yeah. If you could, as in detail as you can, kind of walk us through the whole thing.
Yeah, so it was like any other work day. Started in the morning with my team. There was only 3 of us that day. One guy on our team, Mike, probably my best friend, one of my best friends. He was on another assignment. He was doing an extradition case, so he had flown down to Atlanta, pick up a guy that was apprehended for us, and he was flying him back into Philly. He landed in Philly that night, and then we'll get into that. But so 3 of us that day, normal work day, worked some cases, whatever we did, I don't really remember. And then got home at a pretty good time because we usually started pretty early and worked into the night pretty good. I got home around dinner time, like 5 o'clock, getting dinner ready with the family. And we get a group text from our supervisor wanting to know who's available for a NAPO in the morning. Pennsylvania have warrants on the guy, and they think they located him by whatever resources they used at a nearby hotel in Rehoboth Beach, which is where I lived at the time. Hotel's about 10 minutes from my house. So they want to know who's available, come down. Pennsylvania's going to come down in the morning and do this op. And I thought, well, shit, man, that hotel's like 10 minutes from me. So, I'll pop out there for some surveillance real quick, see if I can identify the vehicle or him. That way we can confirm something, So I get permission, head out there by myself because I'm not doing anything. It's just a drive-by. Pull in the parking lot, park, see the car, confirm the tag number, call a supervisor, tell him. He's like, all right, we're good to go for the morning then. And then as I'm on the phone, suspect walks out and shit starts lining up. Tag lines up, identify him through the photo. He's got his girlfriend with him, her two small kids, which was also part of the intel we had. They load up in the car and they leave. And I wait for a while, make sure they're out of area. Wasn't worried about them like checking out. There was no bags, no luggage and shit. So they're coming back. It's dinner time. So I head back home and get home, and it's just not sitting well with me. Like, our whole job is to locate fugitives and apprehend them. And now I've located this fucking guy and we're waiting until the morning. Like, it just didn't sit well with me. I mean, he could leave in the middle of the night. A patrol guy could stop him for some bullshit traffic charge, not knowing what he was dealing with. Number of things. So my team agrees, supervisor agrees, Pennsylvania okays it. So I head back out, set up, same spot I was in before. My 2 teammates get there, set up, perimeter around the building, and we have like at least 10 other guys coming, but they're all like over an hour out. So suspect's not back yet. So we got to come up with a game plan because he's going to come back, and either we're going to have more guys or we're not. So are we going to let him get in the building, or are we going to keep him in the parking lot? Pros and cons. If we let him get back in the hotel and wait for other units, then we're looking at a barricade. We're looking at murder-suicide, hostages. We're looking at a gunfight at the threshold of a doorway that we can't return fire because there's innocent people. His rounds going into other rooms. Fucking nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So the other option is, there's only 3 of us, which is shit. But we can pin him from the rear, pin the side doors, and then if he parks in the same parking spot, which is up front to the building, he's not going anywhere. Sure enough, he comes back, does a lap around the building, counter surveillance, pulls in his parking spot, and I'm like, all right, let's fucking do it. So I give the command to go. My one partner, George, comes in from the passenger side. Josh is going to come around the driver's side, pin the driver's side door, which he couldn't do because the guy ended up parking next to a truck that wasn't there earlier that was out of play, but it blocked getting up to it, right? And I came in from the rear. And ideally, pinning a vehicle from the rear, you want to come in directly behind him, right? And I couldn't come in directly behind him because of the angle my car was coming out of the parking spot. I had to come in at an angle, and I came in at a real fucked up angle, worse than I should have. So open my door and step out. And when I step out, I'm immediately just looking straight down the driver's side of his door. And I instantly knew, when I put my car in park, I knew it. I was like, fuck, this is a bad spot, but you got to roll with it at this point, right? So I step out. I see his door crack open. I see a little bit of his head pop out. I see a hand punch out, and then I got muzzle flashes. And now I'm at the back quarter panel of his car, basically, about 6 feet. So I send my first round, goes into his rear driver's side door, sticks in the door frame.
This is a pistol?
Pistol, yeah, he had a Tarsh 9mm.
I mean, what were you shooting?
I had a long gun out, and then when I realized if it's going to be the 3 of us, I transitioned, put it up, and went to my handgun, and I had my Glock. So, because I went a long gun swinging if we had to go hands-on with 3 of us. So I transitioned. And so my first round goes into the door, stops in the door frame. He comes out on 2 feet. He's still firing. I get 2 more rounds off, strike him center mass. 1 lodges in his spinal cord, actually. I found out later. But I didn't even know I hit him at the time because it's like he didn't even fucking feel it. He just kept fucking pumping rounds at me.
And what was his charge? Like, what was he accused of?
He was charged with attempted homicide on his brother.
Oh, wow.
He tried to shoot his brother in Pennsylvania. And I think like his cousin or nephew or some shit too. So we're pumping rounds at each other. I don't know how many he got off on me. He landed 6. So, and I'll get into all the rounds in a little bit, but I had 1 go through my left hand. I had 1 ricochet off my plate carrier, landed in my face, and I had a 3rd shatter my femur, just fucking split it right in half, and it dropped me behind his car at the quarter panel. So I lose my gun. My gun rolls underneath his car, right behind his rear driver's side tire, and I try to grab it. And I can't because this hand doesn't work because I got a round through it, and my right hand doesn't work because I just crushed it with all my fucking weight when I fell, and nothing worked. It's completely shattered.
So both your hands are broken?
Both my hands are fucking out of commission. They're both broken, yeah. Wrists are fractured, fingers are broken, everything's shattered. And now I'm in a spot where I can't see anything. All I can hear is the gunfire going off. And I know if he takes like 2 or 3 fucking steps, he's just going to plug one in my fucking head and move on, right?
What are the other guys doing at this point?
So George is on the passenger side, and Josh is kind of like behind my car a little bit because he couldn't get in there. And I'll get into their situation in a minute. So I'm on the ground. I'm still hearing gunfire going off, but I don't know if he's directing it at me, if he's directing it at them, or what. I don't know what the hell's going on. And I instantly go into like just a lot of thoughts, like in the split seconds, you think about a lot of shit. And I'm thinking about life, and I'm thinking about death, and I'm thinking about my wife, I'm thinking about my son. And then this fucking voice comes in my head, man. And I used to chalk it up to like that voice that we all have, like, I can't do that, it's too hard, or, I can't do this, or whatever. That negative voice that we all carry around sometimes. But it was much more than that. It was just screaming at me. Screaming at me, man. Just saying, you failed. You fucking failed. And they're going to pay for it. And when it's saying this, I could just see my wife and I could see my son. And they were just like sitting there looking at me, smiling, like, and waving at me, like it's time to come home. And that was a hard fucking moment, dude. That was a hard moment. That voice, it went on to haunt me for a long time, and I ended up working through that. But in that moment, it kind of played a big role in fucking saving me. Because it was that voice telling me that you failed that made me be like, I can't fucking die here, man. Like, I gotta get home. So I just started crawling with my elbows and pushing with my left leg, and I jammed myself underneath his car as far as I could to try to protect my vitals, because I thought he's going to come back here and pump rounds into me, and my hope is he just fills my legs up, sticking out from the car maybe, and I don't fucking bleed out if I'm not bleeding out already. So as that's happening, George is on the passenger side, and the girlfriend's in the front passenger seat, ducked down on the floorboard. So he sees an opening for a shot through the windows, and he takes it. So it goes through both panes of glass, driver's side and passenger side door, strikes the guy in the side, and then he takes off on foot, runs by me when I'm under the car. As he gets past me behind his car, he turns to the right. Josh is there. He turns and starts cranking rounds at Josh, works his way through the parking lot, and now Josh and George, they dress each other up on the line like they're at the fucking range, and they start moving towards a threat in the parking lot. And I think he went down with, like, give or take around 10 rounds before he went down. He went down in the middle of a reload. So he goes down the parking lot about 75 yards, and George stays with shithead there in the parking lot as he fucking dies. Josh comes back to me, pulls me out from under the car, throws tourniquet on, and throws me in the back of his car and takes me to the hospital. And in our pre-op, in our plan, we always have the designated, medevac. Josh was designated medevac. We always have the nearest hospital programmed in all of our phones. So when you get in, you just hit fucking go. We did all that. But of course, when we pull out of the parking lot, he makes that right-hand turn, and the phone fucking falls off the dash and rolls underneath the fucking seat. So he lost the directions because he wasn't from the area. But luckily, I was still with it. I was still conscious, alert, and breathing. So as I'm in the back seat on my back, I can see out the window. I can see all the billboards, like restaurants and shit that I know. So I get him corrected direction because we're heading south. We need to go north. So he makes it a couple traffic lights before I picked it up. Excuse me. He makes a U-turn and heading north. And now we're communicating with one another. He's on the radio, putting it out like, hey, this is what's going on. I need to know where the fucking hospital is. So get some units out to the highway to direct me. And we were communicating the whole time, and I was spitting fucking blood everywhere. My legs bleeding everywhere. And I remember in the back seat apologizing to him. And he's like, it's all right, man. You're going to make it. Like, you don't have to apologize for anything. It's all good. And I was like, yeah, I know, man, but I'm fucking spitting blood all over your fucking car back here, and I know how much you love it. The Marshals had just bought this fucking Jeep for him. Cherokee. It was brand new, man. Fucking leather, blacked out. It was fucking awesome ride. And he was really protective of it. And I was just fucking spitting DNA all over this motherfucker, man. So, but, you're delirious and you're fucking in shock, but you're also like, I'm with it enough to know, like, we got to communicate. And that's what I was doing because I'm a smart ass anyway. And so we're communicating on the way to the hospital. He's got everything good to go on the radio now. He's good. And I did the same thing that I did when I was on the ground. Like, I had to look for work. I can't just lay there and fucking die. So I started running myself through a checklist. First I needed to calm down and realize what the fuck was happening. So I did that. Then I went to assess my wounds, but I couldn't because my hands didn't work. I couldn't fix my tourniquet. I couldn't take my vest off. I couldn't check for anything else. It was kind of fucked there. But I knew I was losing a lot of blood. So I started working on combat breathing, slow in, slow out, which for me, it was just common sense for me, and it was just something I did regularly because I was a runner. I did Ironmans. I worked out all the time, CrossFit. So working on breathing is something I did regularly. So I went into some breathing patterns to slow that down, slow that blood loss, and got that under control. And I just kept thinking, and what's next on the checklist? All right, they're going to get me in the hospital and they're going to knock me out. Boom, got that. But I wanted to think further ahead. So I knew when I got to the hospital, they're going to fucking put me under because I'm in bad shape. They're not going to keep me awake. It's obvious, right? But I didn't want to wake up at whenever I woke up and be surprised that maybe I lost this leg because I knew it was bad. It was when I was on the ground crawling, it was at a 90 degree. I could high five my foot. And as I crawled, I remember watching it get further and further away. So I knew it was bad. So I convinced myself that the leg was going. They were just going to take it. And I was like, fine, whatever. I'll, amputee. It's not that bad. Everybody does it. People do it every day and have great fucking lives, and I can do the same thing, right? So I wanted to wake up and be surprised that it was still there. So they get to the hospital, get there, they pull me out, start ripping everything off, and they put me under at some point. I don't remember when. Last thing I remember is them taking my vest off.
How long of a time was it from when you got shot until you were actually at the hospital? Do you know?
So from the first shot that rang out to the time we were out of the parking lot was probably somewhere around like 40 to 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick. And then to the hospital, it took us like 8.5 minutes, something like that. Between 8 and 9 minutes. They said if I would have waited for the ambulance, then I probably wouldn't have made it.
Wow.
So Josh, you made the right call.
Was the tourniquet just not doing the job? Or?
The entry wound was just below my hip, so he couldn't get it above it. He can only get the tourniquet on it, which wouldn't completely stop it. But it didn't hit the femoral. So I wasn't losing a ton of blood externally, but I was bleeding out a lot inside.
Oh, okay.
From my leg was so big, my pants were ripping.
Oh, wow.
It was just swollen up from bleeding out within there. And so we get to the hospital, and they end up doing their thing and knocking me out. And now they got to do the family notification. And, it's a small state, and the first responder community is even smaller, and we live in a day and age of fucking cell phones and social media, right? And there's no way any agency is going to beat social media on notifying a family. It's just not possible. So things start popping up like on Facebook and shit that, the Marshals were in a shooting, and there's only 4 of us on this team. And she starts getting text messages probably within 10 minutes, asking if she's okay, if she needs anything, and she doesn't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And at the time we lived with my in-laws, we had sold our house and we were just breaking ground on a new home. So we lived with my in-laws, and she was in bed with my son reading a bedtime story. He was 7 at the time. And one of her friends finally calls her and asks her if she needs anything. And she's like, you need to tell me what's going on because I don't know. And she tells her, TJ's been shot and he's at the hospital. I thought you knew. So my father-in-law ends up taking Amanda to the hospital, which is about a 10-minute drive. And she gets notified on the way there. My department finally called her. And I don't fault them for taking so long. There were some things they could have done in the process to make it a little quicker, but they weren't going to beat it regardless. So she gets to the hospital. I'm already out. I'm unconscious. They put me under. I'm there for about 45 minutes, and then they fly me north to another hospital a little over an hour away. And my agency drives her up. So this is on a Thursday night. So they check me in up there, keep me under, keep me sedated. And the next day I have my first surgery around 2 o'clock. They bring me down from surgery that evening, and I was still out of it. I remember seeing like a glimpse of my wife and like my parents, but I thought it was like a dream. And that was it. I didn't see them anymore for a week because fucking COVID protocols. So this was Friday night. So Saturday is when I'm really like out of it, like awake, come out of it. And all I have is phone calls. I Can't see my son. Can't see my wife. Hospital won't let her in. Can't have any visitors. But the only thing I had going for me was they were going to allow one officer from my agency and one deputy with the Marshal Service. And they got around letting that in because it was deemed a security issue. So I'm there for 7 days. So I ended up getting, a round through the hand, ricochet from the chest to the face, my femur. I took a round through my left shoulder, and I took 2 in my right arm. So I got a rod in my femur. I have pins and plates in both my hands. So I'm up there for ICU for 7 days, and they're telling me like my recovery time is 2 years, and the odds of me starting to run again and get back into running is going to be every bit of that 2 years before I can start trying to do that again. Which is, I was just fucking soul crushing for me because fitness was like a big thing in my life. So day 7 comes, and they're releasing me, but they're transporting me to a live-in physical therapy hospital. So my wife comes up that day, comes into my room, the guys leave, and she comes over to the bed, and I remember the first thing I said to her when I saw her was, "I'm sorry I failed you." And
how did you take that?
I think we both cried for a while.
Yeah.
I remember
The listeners probably can't hear that. She said, I think we both cried for a while. I mean, was it unexpected, I guess? Were you shocked by him saying that?
Yeah, that's not how I saw it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just thankful that he was there, and I didn't see failure in him. But knowing TJ,
Yeah.
I know that how he would see that as failure.
Yeah.
I remember when I said that, I remember she looked at me. She said, "You've never failed me." And that was so fucking big to hear.
Yeah.
Not that I ever thought she would leave me or anything. But you always hear those kinds of horror stories, and your brain will fuck with you, right?
Yeah.
And I hadn't been able to see her. I didn't know how she was going to react when she saw me because I hadn't seen her yet. And so to hear that, I instantly knew, regardless of what this is going to look like, we're going to be okay. I had that in me.
From the time that you first kind of came to until you actually were able to see her in person,
Yeah.
how long of a time was that? Where you were conscious enough to be able to think straight?
Until I saw her?
Yeah.
So Saturday, and then I saw her on the following Thursday.
Oh, wow. So you had a lot of time being inside your own head.
Well, a little bit. Like I said, I had 2 guys with me all the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any personal time. I did. We'll get into the thoughts in my head here. So she comes up, and we have that interaction, and then so it's time to leave. So they take me down on the stretcher to leave, and my son's downstairs waiting for me, and I get to see him. And like I said, he was 7, so he just looked like a ghost, man, like a deer in the headlights. Scared, confused, didn't really know what to think. I just remember him staring at me with these big eyes, and it was like kind of a jaw drop because I'm all, I look like shit. I'm crying uncontrollably. He's never seen me like that. Probably never seen me cry before. And they loaded me up in the ambulance, and the ambulance crew were fucking awesome, dude. They were like, "Do you want your wife and son to ride with you down there? It's like a 45-minute drive." And I was like, "Yeah." So they rode with me in the ambulance, and that was good for him because he got to, mellow out a little bit, and I got to tell some jokes with him and get him calmed down, let him see that I'm okay. But the ride was rough, man. I remember laying on the stretcher, looking out those 2 glass windows in the back doors, and seeing a long procession of red and blue lights. And it made me think of all those processions that I've been in with that same kind of view, but the person in that ambulance wasn't as fortunate as I was. And that's when I really started getting a lot of that survivor's guilt pretty hard. And we get down to the rehab place, and was a quick transition. I remember they wheeled me out, took me up to my room. Like, I don't even remember saying goodbye to my son. It was so quick. And they get me up to my room, and it's late. It's like probably around 8 o'clock, close to it. They take me in there. I got a room to myself, and it's me, Amanda, and a couple people from the hospital staff administration. And it's a quick meet and greet. Hey, this is who we are. This is what to expect. We'll be back in the morning, give you more. And you can't have visitors because COVID, but we're going to allow your wife up between visiting hours as much as she wants. So we say our goodbyes. She's going to come back in the morning, and now I'm in this room, pitch black by myself, and now is when I'm like really getting into my thoughts. And, everything starts going through my mind, how bad is this? Why am I alone? And, the ultimate, am I going to be a fucking burden now? Is my wife going to have to take care of me the rest of her fucking life?
Not to interrupt, but did they give you a prognosis of anything other than it's going to be 2 years before you can run? Were they ambiguous in terms of communicating your potential recovery? Is that why you were so questioning?
Yeah, I didn't really have much communication on it.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't think they really had a lot of answers. Like with my hands were so bad, they told me they don't have an answer. They had no idea what to expect from that.
Wow.
So, I mean, I was thinking of, am I going to be able to play baseball with my son again? Am I going to be able to go for long runs with my wife again? Oh, no, that stuff was just playing mind games with me. And I remember in the morning about 6 o'clock, I remember that door swung in-swing door, and a nurse came in to check on me. And I saw that light coming in from the hallway on that door, man. And it made me think back on a book that I had read about six years prior. And I hadn't read the book since then. It just popped in my head, and it was The Trident by Jason Redman.
Yeah.
And I thought about that red sign.
Yeah.
The sign on the door. And I thought, man, like that's a cool fucking idea. And I'm down for whatever I can right now, right? So my wife comes up. I'm like, hey, I need a marker and some post board. I'm going to do the sign thing. And so she gets it. And she's like, all right, what do you want me to write? And I'm like, I'm going to write it. Just stick it in my cast, and I'm going to move it around the best I can. So I came up with this sign. And said, to all who make entry here, you must enter with a hardened mind and a strong ethos. I'm not here to get back to where I was. I'm here to be better than I was. And I will surround myself with like-minded people. Do not enter with dejection or disdain, sadness or empathy, sadness or fear, or you will be turned away. And I received these injuries doing a job I love for the people and the community that I love. And I received them alongside my brothers who I'll join again soon. And I stuck my patch on it and signed it and propped it up on the door. And then within about 2 minutes, I had the staff down there ask me who pissed me off. And I assured them that the 12 hours that I had been there, everything was great.
Yeah.
It was just a motivational tool. And it worked. So thank you, Jason, for giving me that idea.
Yeah, I'll definitely share this with him.
He's familiar.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, we've spoken.
Oh, that's cool.
I reached out to him when I was in physical therapy, like on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
And we talked a lot since then. He actually put a little forward in my book for me.
Oh, fuck, that's awesome.
Great fucking dude.
Yeah.
So I did the sign, and I put it up there for two reasons, man. One, just for what it said. It was a warning. I didn't want people in there with a fucking pity party, with sad faces and all that shit. I didn't want that garbage, man. I wanted an uplifting environment with smiling faces. I started every day with music on my phone. My department had shift change every morning at 7 o'clock. So every morning at 07, I called into the agency, shared shift change, and try to keep it as routine as possible. And I came up with a game plan. I had long-term goals. One, I wanted to get my fucking life back, obviously. And I wanted to prove people wrong. 2-year recovery to do the things I want to love. Like, if that's your expectation for me, that's not good enough. So I said I was going to run a half marathon in under a year before the 1-year anniversary. That was my goal. So I had to come up with a game plan for that, and I couldn't just jump into it. I had to come up with some small goals, right? And small goals are just simple things, man, like, walking 2 doors down with my walker, the next day 4, the end of the week I'm at the nurse station and back. Giving me, 5 reps of something to do in my exercises. I'm doing 7 or 8, or extra rounds. And I just kept that mindset for the 2 weeks I'd end up being there. Their goal for me was to get me out of there on a walker. That was like their big thing. Like, if we can get you out of here on a walker, like, we're doing something. So that told me I could walk out of there on my own 2 feet. That was my goal. And 2 weeks later, We go get released, and they bring a walker in, and I refuse it. And we came up with they didn't want me walking out under my own. So the deal was I could walk out under my own, but somebody had to be behind me with a wheelchair. I was like, that's fine, just don't touch me, you know. And I made it out of there on my own 2 feet. We made it home.
Damn, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I got out, I think it was 13 days. I got out a day early.
Wow.
So I went home, surprised my son a day early. And that was on a Wednesday. The next day was New Year's Eve. So I woke up New Year's Eve, and my wife set up my first appointment for outpatient physical therapy New Year's Eve night at like 6 o'clock.
Wow.
And same thing, went in there, met with the therapist. She gave me her expectation and goals for me, and I gave mine back. And started busting my ass with the help of her because she believed in me. And I started running in 4 months.
Wow.
Short, little jogs, like half block here and there, and started building from it. And November comes, 11 months, and I ran the half marathon.
No shit.
And I ended up running the fastest half marathon I ever ran in my fucking life.
Dude, that's incredible, man.
It was good. Yeah. And I remember crossing the finish line and collapsing because my fucking leg was killing me.
I'll bet.
And I just had so many emotions like running through me, man. Like happiness, sadness, fucking hate. I mean, everything you could think of was just exploding. Yeah. And it was just such a crazy feeling that I was really hungry to feel it again. So 2 weeks later, I ran another one.
Yeah.
And I ran it a little bit faster and just kept it going, man. That was, so I ran the second one December 6th, just a few days shy of the 1 year anniversary. So I had two. And then March came, and I did Goggins' 4x4x48 challenge. I did that with a friend of mine, which was 48 miles. And then 18 months, I did a half Ironman. And just kept it going, man. This year I try to find something to do every year to like, test myself. Like if I start feeling myself getting too comfortable. So this year in June, I did 30 days of Murph consecutive.
Oh, how was that? I guess of all the things that you've done, does one stand out as being the most challenging? 30 days of Murph would be a motherfucker.
I would say mentally, Murph was the most challenging mentally. Because that was just, I wasn't like so much sore. I was just fucking tired, man. Because I tried to knock it out early, like at 5 a.m. and get it done with. That was probably the worst mentally. Yeah, Murph, that was tough. It was just mentally challenging for me.
Physically, did you see a before and after significant transformation in your body from doing 30 days of it? Like, did you
I
lose
definitely
a bunch of
felt
weight?
like upper body strength and some definition with it. Same thing with my legs, like with all the squats. I definitely started seeing some more definition.
Did you lose a bunch of weight or anything? Or?
No, I kept the calories up high.
Yeah.
I kept my macros up real high because I was still doing CrossFit too, and a little bit of running here and there. So I knew I had to up my macros a lot.
Yeah. In terms of pain, you said the first run that you did was really painful.
Yeah.
Has that subsided or gotten better? Like, are you to a point now where it's less painful, or is it still pretty rough?
It's better than it was that day, but like it still wears on me. Like I haven't run that much this year. I've been kind of give my leg a break.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of nerve damage in it. Like I have like dead spots and dull spots, and I still have some shrapnel in there that moves around quite a bit and like stings me at times. So and my knees have just been killing me.
Yeah.
So I backed off running a little bit this year. I started rucking more, which you would think would probably be worse on me, but it doesn't feel as bad as running.
Yeah. Man. I guess a couple of questions I had going back to the day that it happened. You mentioned that he had a Taurus. It seemed like the fucking guy had a lot of rounds. Like,
yeah, he had two mags, and I can't remember I don't know how many he had in each mag, but it was purple.
The gun was?
Yeah, the purple was, and like whenever I do my presentations, I always have the purple gun up, and I'm like, well, at least it wasn't fucking pink camo or some shit. You know what I mean? I don't know how many rounds he had. He had two mags.
Tiffany green.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So he got 6 rounds off in you, and I mean, it sounds like your vest saved your life.
Oh yeah, that was
100%.
definitely a 100% kill shot right there. It was center mass. Actually, it struck. So I had pistol mag and AR mags in the front. It actually went through both those, and the rounds, the springs exploded, so they shot out all over the parking lot, and a lot of that shrapnel from the mags, the plastic, shot up and like peppered my face.
Oh wow!
So I had to get some of that dug out of my face. Yeah.
Yeah. When it actually happened, did you feel any pain when it happened, or was the adrenaline high enough to where?
The only thing I felt was my leg.
Yeah.
I didn't feel my hands. I didn't even know about the rest of the gunshot wounds until like 3 days later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Your leg hurt right away.
Right away. It was just like a constant burn, like a severe burn. And, man, I don't even know how to describe it outside of the burn. It was just brutal, man. Worst thing I've ever felt.
Yeah.
But everything else was just numb.
Yeah.
And someone told me it's because your body can only focus on so much pain in one area at a time.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. But I didn't feel, like, even in the back of the car when I was looking at my hands, like I didn't feel any pain.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And the ones in my arm and my shoulder, like I said, I didn't even know about those till later.
Yeah. Did your fellow teammates, did any of them take shots? Or any of them actually hit?
They didn't get hit. He fired at them. So this is a crazy part too. So Josh, who was on the driver's side, when he came up out of holster, his first round actually went into his engine.
Oh wow.
Car stayed running. We didn't know at the time. We found this out later through the investigation. And when we got to the ER doors at the hospital and he put it in park, engine fucking died right there.
Wow. Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Did he had the guy that you guys were trying to apprehend had his girlfriend there, right?
Yeah.
Were the kids in the back seat?
2 kids in the back seat. I think they were like 4 and 6 or something like that.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and some people gave me shit about it, like, the kids were there, and I'm like, well, the kids were always going to be there, man. You just got to find the best opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I mean, even armchair quarterbacking it, I don't know how you would have done it any better.
You can't.
I mean, yeah, I would much rather try to do that in a parking lot than in a hotel room for all the same reasons.
Now, imagine us waiting and doing that in the hotel.
Yeah.
He was still going to shoot. Imagine what that chaos would have been.
Yeah, I mean, now you have, the kids are behind. Like, you can't shoot at him; he can only shoot at you. I mean, even to do it again, I don't know how you would have done it any better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way we looked at it at the time, and it's like you're always gonna have fucking Monday morning quarterbacks and shit, but it is what it is. It doesn't bother me,
I mean, again, I don't know how you would.
Yeah,
I would still prefer that over the room scenario.
It's the same thing. Like my vehicle, like I killed myself in the beginning, like the way I put my vehicle. But at the end of the day, like, one, you can't change it, and two, like I could have came in perfectly as you're trained and took one through the windshield.
Yeah,
but all I know is that's the way I did it, and I survived.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Do you know what rounds he had in his gun?
So he didn't have hollow points, thankfully.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them around my neck.
2 of the ones, were those in his gun or those?
Yeah, these were, so I had one lodge in my elbow. That's this one here. That looks perfect still.
Yeah.
And then this one here, it's all mushroomed, is the one that shattered my femur. It actually, so it's crazy. So I had an exit wound on the back of my leg, just below my ass. So they thought the bullet came out. And so I'll jump ahead from the shooting. When I got home, a little over a month later, I went from like 170 pounds to like 142. So when I got home, I was at bones. And I remember looking in the mirror one morning, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I had like a little bump down on my abdomen, and I thought it was a hernia. So I went to my family doctor, and she's like, that's not a hernia. You got some kind of foreign object. And I was like, man, you got to be shitting me. So it turns out the bullet that hit my femur actually shot up into my abdomen, and now my body was trying to push it out.
Wow.
And then the hole in the back of my leg was actually bone that shot out the back of me, the femur. Yeah. So I had those both removed like in February.
Wow.
And then actually where I got the idea for this from was I was watching your podcast when I was in the hospital.
No shit.
And I saw an episode with Mike Day.
Yeah, man.
And he talked about his necklace. I think they pulled it out of his ass or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw that, and I was like, man, I know what I'm doing with these 2 bullets, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and unfortunately, Mike took his own life.
Yeah. Yeah, I never had the pleasure of knowing Mike, but I remember that episode, and just an unbelievable story, and obviously an unbelievable man. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just heartbreaking all the way across the board,
It is.
In so many different ways. And
it is.
Yeah, it's tough.
And like I said, I never met him, but it's like whenever I put this on, like sometimes I think about Mike Day because that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
So.
Do you mind if we zoom in and get some pictures of that and post it? Weave it into the show. Is that good, Zach? Better than bringing it up to the camera. Yeah. just get a fucking anonymous thumb popping up like a proctologist back there, you dick. Man, that's awesome. It's not. I mean, it's powerful. And such a cool concept.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to that's one of the reasons why I'm very thankful and honored for you to have me on today. Because it means a lot to me. So thank you.
The pleasure is mine. Like I said, it's man, what a fucking wild story. So your teammates, they didn't actually take any rounds.
Yeah.
One of them took you to the hospital. I assume the other two, one kind of stayed there with.
He stayed in the parking lot by himself, unfortunately. But he had to do it. It was that, or I had to get out of there. And now the hotel's emptying out. It's a shitty hotel.
Yeah.
People are emptying out of the hotel, screaming at him. You just killed that guy. You murdered him. Da 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 da. And I think after we got out of the parking lot, I would say it was only like a minute. Other guys started arriving on scene to help out and get it under control.
Other local PD guys?
No, well, yeah, some local PD guys, and actually a couple guys from the Marshals Task Force were actually not too far out.
Yeah.
We just couldn't wait.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. Any idea what happened with the girlfriend and the kids? I mean, was she in on a lot of the shitty activity, or just an innocent?
No, he pretty much. It was like one of those violent domestic situations. My understanding from the investigators, he kind of like forced her. It was her gun. He took it from her.
Oh, really?
And he kind of just she basically said she kidnapped him and the kids and took them as shields on this excursion. And so she was just after the 1 year anniversary. She actually found me on Instagram.
No shit.
And messaged me.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that? I mean, what?
So she sends me this message, and it wasn't bad. She actually thanked me for saving her and her kids.
Wow.
She saw a podcast that I did. I did a Shots Fired podcast with Kyle Schoberg.
Yeah.
So I did Kyle. I've done it a couple times, but the first time I did it, and she watched it, and she went to this whole thing about how she didn't realize like why we did it the way we did it. It was to protect her and the kids and all this kind of stuff. And I never responded. One, it was only a year after, and they're still like, you're still liable for lawsuits and shit. And I wasn't going to give her anything. I didn't want to open up a dialogue. And the other was like, I really don't hold anything against her, but it's just like, at the end of the day, like you're in that situation, like you're there, and like, I appreciate you saying it, but I don't need to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that something that bothered you that she reached out?
So, my background is that I'm a social worker. So I have probably a little bit more empathy for a victim in the situation. And but I also think that she was probably trying to reconcile stuff within herself.
Yeah. So short answer is not really.
I feel for her, but at the same time, I'm kind of like.
Yeah.
She actually reached out again after the 2nd year anniversary, just checking in, seeing how I'm doing. Real quick message, and I ignored that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's wild. It's such a crazy dynamic scenario that I think highlights how dynamic police work is, and how fast you guys have to make decisions, and kind of what I was speaking to earlier. It's just, that's the day in, day out that you guys deal with. Like, shit changes, and you got to adjust on the fly. And that as a classic example, like, you didn't even have nearly as many guys as you wanted to, but kind of made the judgment call on the fly. And, if you think about it from kind of the 30,000 foot view, you guys put yourselves in much higher risk to protect, the kids and just even normal citizens in the hotel,
right.
And I don't think that gets highlighted enough,
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think people really understand all of the work and the thought of the community that goes into everything we do.
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand that.
Well, and shy of doing episodes like this and what have you, it never really gets reported.
Right.
And to me, that's a huge ding on our media, is that there should be more highlights of stories of that kind of sacrifice, and at least trying to paint a picture where the public at least understands what law enforcement has to go through. Because we're going to watch a video on this Tyreek Hill incident here in a minute and get just kind of a feedback clip on it. But that's usually all you see is one or several cops who either their temper got the best of them, or that they made a judgment call, even if it was justified. You don't see any of the context leading up to it, and and all you see is like this completely isolated incident that makes them look bad, and then that's all that gets focused on.
Right. It's like body camera footage. Like you go back and watch cops' body camera footage, and you see things, and it's like, well, the cop's not seeing everything on that camera. Like they're focused on something.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't have a picture screen where they can just
bird's eye view.
Right. I mean, these are things that happen in real time.
Yeah. I guess duty carry wise, you guys don't have body cams, do you, as marshals, or do you?
At that time, my agency had body cameras, but the marshals didn't, so you weren't allowed to carry it with the marshals. Now they do. Now everyone's carrying those things.
Yeah. And what on that day, like, what are you guys wearing uniform at, if anything? Is it street clothes or what?
Yeah, I mean, I was dressed like pretty much like this. I had a pair of like tactical distributors fucking pants on, and a flannel shirt and a throw-over vest. Yeah.
Yeah. What shoes were you wearing?
I was wearing Solomon's.
Yeah.
Yep. Typical.
Yeah. I mean, they're good to run or fight in.
I didn't get them back because they were ruined. They're my favorite pair of shoes.
Oh, shit. Man. In terms of the recovery, obviously, or I'm assuming kind of a lot of ups and downs during that process. Did you struggle mentally with getting back to work, or was kind of the ethos that you put on that door something that you really kind of carried with you the whole way and stayed pretty gung-ho after it?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal was to go back to work. Like, I didn't want to go out that way. I wanted to go out on my own terms, So I worked to get back, and that was a tough process mentally, because that was one thing my son did not want. He did not want me to go back to being a cop anymore, and I don't blame him. I don't think Amanda did either, but being the wife that she is, like, she knows who I am. She knows what she married, and she was going to support me whatever I wanted to do. So I worked to get back. My spot was still with the Marshals. If I went back, I was going to go back to there. And when the recovery was about 2-year process, and mostly because of my hands were so damaged. And it looked like it was leaning towards I wasn't going back. And I had my last doctor's appointment, and the doc said, what are your thoughts? I want to know your thoughts before I give you my answer. And I said, well, I want to go back. And I said, if I got to be honest with you, like, I just don't feel like I can operate at the level that I once did. And if I can't do that, then I feel like I'm putting everyone in danger.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm glad you said that, because I wasn't sending you back. You're done.
Oh, wow.
And even though like I kind of expected it, it was tough to hear, man.
Yeah.
It was tough. But the only thing that I remember going home and telling my son, like, hey, dad's done, man. We're going to find something else to do. And I remember seeing him smile and just seeing like that weight lifted off of him.
Yeah.
And that just, it made it all okay.
Yeah, man, I'll bet. That's a powerful moment. Are your hands what bother you the most still?
Yeah. So like my left hand, I can move it down here, but the knuckle doesn't bend. So I'm just fucking happy all day. You know what I mean? And then my right hand's just limited mobility here. That's all I got. And I still have a lot of nerve damage there, a lot of numbness, like arthritis-like pain.
Yeah. And
my index fingers get kind of like stiff a lot, which is one of the main reasons I didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still have problems with them quite a bit, and my leg still hurts a little bit, like weather and shit like that. I got a lot of problems.
Do you mind if I ask? Yeah. It's probably a HIPAA violation, but like, do you take medication for any of that shit, or do you try to stay out?
Nah, I don't take anything. Yeah. I stay off all that kind of shit. I was on pain meds a lot when I got home, and I got off that shit as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I
mean, you see how many lives it ruins.
You see what it does to people, and I didn't like the feeling of it anyway, so it sucked, but I just weaned myself off as quick as I could.
Yeah. I do have a Patreon question from Val. Thank you, Val, for the Tier 3 membership. She asks, in your recovery, what's the biggest tool that's helped you when struggling?
My wife. I am very big on communication. Law enforcement is not known for the best communication. The old thought is, don't take work home with you, and that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Because just because you don't go home and talk about it doesn't mean you're not taking it home.
Yeah.
And I learned that throughout my career. And after this shit happened, man, my wife, we always had a great marriage, and I never thought it'd be as good as it is now. And it's because throughout that whole process and through today, the communication we have is unbreakable.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something going on in my head she knows about when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the most powerful thing that I've had for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to play therapist. Would you mind turning to your wife and sharing? No, I'm not going to do it. Do you know that? Like, does he? I mean, I'm assuming that's not news to you. How does that make you feel hearing him say that?
I'm thankful that we have that.
Yeah.
Because not everybody does.
Yeah.
And I think, we're big proponents of mental health in law enforcement, and we see other people struggle, and it's because they don't talk.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good segue into kind of the health coaching and the Fit for Duty Foundation. Was that something that as you were transitioning out, and I guess when you got that final word that, hey, you're not going back,
Yeah.
Was that sprung out of that, or did you think about it beforehand? And were you doing anything in that 2-year period? Like, were you completely off, or did they have you doing office shit? Or
So for that 2-year period, I was completely off.
Yeah.
They let me focus solely on recovery.
Yeah.
I would pop in the PD once in a while and say hi to guys and shit like that, but
drag your nuts across a coffee
exactly,
cup here and there.
yeah, with a wheelbarrow. I didn't go back to work for the whole time. I stayed home, physical therapy every day. Excuse me. And the Fit for Duty thing came about probably about a year and a half into my recovery. We started the Fit for Duty Foundation, and where we encourage physical and mental health in cops. And we do that by getting them into like a CrossFit or like a functional fitness gym to start their fitness journey. And we do that by covering their first 3 months. And then so like I said, I was always into fitness, but like I never really dialed in like my nutrition. Like I never got into like macros and all that kind of shit. And then this past winter, I was like, I need to get a nutrition coach. And again, I was watching your podcast,
Man, that's
and
awesome.
here comes this fucking nut job named TCAV. And I was like, man, this guy looks legit. He's legit, man. Like, it's my kind of guy. So he did coaching.
Yeah.
So I got TCAV.
Oh,
And,
shit.
I hired him, man.
Awesome.
And he got my nutrition dialed in. I took some nutrition classes myself. And I fell in love with the whole coaching process with him, man. Like, I just really enjoyed it, and I wanted to get into it myself, and I did. And I started doing it back in the spring, and it's been great, man.
That's awesome.
I love helping people get back on their feet or get on a path in a direction that they never thought they could, getting their life dialed in with some daily disciplines. It's really rewarding.
Yeah.
So thanks to TCAF for getting me on that.
That's awesome. Have you shared that with him? I don't want to.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, man. Solid dude.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So with that, I assume that, or I guess I'm asking, when you're medically, I'm assuming it's a medical retirement.
Yeah.
When that happens, do they compensate you well enough to where it's kind of a lateral transfer over, or are you taking a big kick in the nuts by being medically retired?
Because
the military sucks for that.
It's kind of a kick in the nuts. I got a pension. It's nothing to smirk at.
Yeah.
But it's not as big as I'd like it to be, obviously. Yeah.
Well, to me, excuse me.
The one thing that I think is shitty for me generally is like outside of like the pension is like resources, like mental health resources and shit like that. There wasn't shit given to me throughout the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I guess for any law enforcement, state, local, federal, whatever, military, if you get medically retired and it's from something that happened in the job, which it usually is going to be, to me, they should retire you at whatever you were making then, and you just get the same.
The full salary.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Because I don't know how it is in the police. Maybe it's different.
Every state's different. Like our state, there's like a panel, and it goes off like a chart of like based off your injuries and shit.
Yeah.
So you'll get anywhere from like 50 to 75%.
Yeah, I mean, with the military, it's like a fraction.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get medically retired, you're getting less than half.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's no way you're going to live off of that. You got to do something else.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, ideally, they should give you the full fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's only fair. Fuck, but especially in a case like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you get, type 2 diabetes from being a lazy fat fuck, and you get medically retired from that, then okay, maybe not. But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. So tell us about the Fit for Duty Foundation, and you mentioned it a little bit, but what's kind of the where you want to get to goal with them?
Yeah. So ultimately, like I would like to start tying in some mental health stuff with it somewhere.
Yeah.
The resources that guys can go to if they want to talk, things like that, outside of the physical fitness, get into some mental fitness. Kind of taken, I mean, honestly, I haven't stepped back, but the progress with it has we've slowed it down a little bit because, now that I've retired, I got to start focusing on another career for me, right? So I got to start growing that a little bit. But we're still doing really well with it. But eventually that is the goal, to add in some mental health pathways with it.
And is that basically any law enforcement professionals can reach out to you and utilize those services?
Yeah, any law enforcement, active law enforcement, or if you're like medically retired and you're trying to get your shit back together. Yeah,
oh, that's awesome. So with the book, Just One More, and your career, your second career, what does that look like?
So I do the coaching, fitness mindset. I also do public speaking. I do a lot of law enforcement courses, overcoming critical incidents, which is basically it's a debrief, and then the story of how I overcame it and how you can overcome the obstacles in your life. And I'm going to start trying to get into more corporate world stuff, self-leadership, adversity kind of things. Start doing some speaking on that.
Yeah. Any desire to do anything canine related after Hank, or is that just kind of a chapter that you look back on fondly?
I always wanted to. Like, my goal ultimately was like, Hank's going to retire, I'll get another dog, and I'll just spend the rest of my career in canine. Like, that would be the dream.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way. I miss it. I miss working with dogs. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any resources for that now.
Do you guys still have your lab, or do you have any dogs now?
Yeah, passed. They all passed. We have one dog left. It's a pug.
Yeah.
He's 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
He's blind, deaf, and he's still kicking it, man.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So I guess digging into the book a little bit, what was the driving force behind deciding to do that?
So when I got to the live-in rehab, I started keeping like a daily journal, like voice to text, because I couldn't use my hands on my phone. And just every day, like how I felt physically, how I felt mentally, and I kept track of how that progressed. And it just kind of formed its way into a book. I wanted to give back, I wanted to help people. And, I thought I had a pretty good story of how I overcame it. And like I said, going back to like Jay, like his book helped me. So I thought maybe I could give back and help somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's great. And in that same kind of vein, not having the typical retirement, that was kind of expected. What advice would you give any law enforcement officers that are preparing for retirement?
Like, have a game plan, man.
Yeah.
It's hard getting out of this job and not knowing what you're going to do, especially when it's unexpected, like my case. Going back, if I could change anything, I probably would have prepared, not even just for this, but just for retirement in general. Like, what else do I want to do as a second career?
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't do any of that,
Yeah.
You just don't really think about it.
Yeah.
That was one of the things when I retired. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do now?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, try to use my experiences and do something that way and try to get back the best I can and try to make a career out of that.
Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, it's super inspiring, and I'm proud of you for doing everything that you're doing.
I appreciate it.
With everything that you've overcome and being thrown such an unexpected, enormous life hurdle.
Yeah.
Do you view failure and success differently now than you did prior to the shooting?
Yeah, I think so.
And in what way?
I don't look at failure so much as failure. I look at it as an opportunity. I look at it as something to learn from, something to grow from. Because it's the old saying: if you're not trying, you're not failing, right?
Yeah.
So I welcome it. I know nobody wants to fail, but if I fail, it's like good.
Yeah.
I learned something. Pinpoint what you learned from it.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely appreciate and like the adage, you either win or you learn.
Right.
There is no failing within reason. I mean,
yeah.
I think some things tend to boil down to that, but they're usually small things. You
right.
know? Man, what an incredible and engaging and inspiring story. Again, having you come on the show, especially after, having watched so many of them and some of the takeaways are like, for me, it's super humbling.
Thank you.
It really is. I mean, and it's a very special episode for me to be able to have you on here and share your story and all the kind of connections over the years with Mic Drop. It's just a really heartwarming and special experience for me to be able to have you on. So thank you for coming.
I appreciate it.
And thanks to the missus for sitting in a little bit. Can we see your holes? Can we do it on Patreon?
I get naked.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say is that we'll show what he can show, but it'll be on Patreon. So if you want to see some of the stuff,
I have some pictures I can give you.
Yeah, we'll share that on Patreon and not on the main episode. So that'll be in the bonus footage that we're going to record here right after, as well as we're going to watch the Tyreek Hill pullover incident and get a law enforcement officer's kind of opinion on it. So already did the coin and buckle, so I'll refrain from redoing that. But again, I just want to thank both you guys for coming. Thank you for everything you've done for our country. I know law enforcement is such a tough and oftentimes thankless job. And my hat's off to you guys for all that you put up with and go through on our behalf. So thank you for your service and for coming on and sharing the story.
Appreciate it.
Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
Just one more of the book.
Yeah.
You can pick it up, thetjwebb.com.
Is it available on Amazon or?
Not available on Amazon right now, just my website.
Okay.
Pick it up there, tjwebb.com, and hopefully you get something out of it.
And if somebody wants to book you for a speaking thing or any classes, same.
Yeah, you can reach me through my website. There's a contact form or on Instagram at the TJ Webb.
Okay, great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. To me, it's it's a special moment being able to have TJ on. And if you didn't enjoy it, you feel free to go choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.